Presented by Socios.com. We'll take you through the NBA draft pick by pick. And now, broadcasting live from the Amway Center in downtown Orlando, here's your host, Dante Marchitelli.
And welcome everyone to the 2022 NBA Draft Show presented by Socios.com. I am Dante Marchitelli, and oh, what a night we have planned for you. We have three terrific analysts, guests joining us here on the show. None other than David Steele, Bo Outlaw, and Jake Chapman. The great Scott Harris has us all set up here inside Amway Center, and it's great to have you with us on 96.9 FM, iHeartRadio app, and the Magic YouTube page. We're going to take you till about 9:30, try to get as close to that 32nd overall pick. But here we sit, guys. We are 1 hour away from the Magic making their selection, the first overall pick in the 2022 NBA Draft. So we're so glad to have you here with us. We're going to make that selection at about 8:10 p.m., and then we'll go from there. So people are filing into Amway Center. Everybody's good to go. We're going to kind of get you set up. You're going to hear from Magic President of Basketball Operations in the next segment. Then we want to hear from you. Jump online, 407-916-8255, or text us 50857. That's 50857, and let us know who you want the Magic to take with the number one pick. With that being said, let's bring in our panel here. We begin with David Steele.
Yes, sir.
Play-by-play voice of the Orlando Magic on Bally Sports, Florida. David Steele, welcome. How excited are you for tonight?
Oh, I'm so pumped up, Dante. There's nothing better than draft night, especially when you have the number one pick. This is the fourth time that the Magic have had the number one pick in the draft, and I've been fortunate enough to be involved with now all four of them, so it's an exciting night. I remember them all very well, and if this one turns out as well as those first three, then we're in for some great success in the not-too-distant future. So it begins tonight. We'll see what happens. It's going to be fun.
You know what's funny? So the first three were, of course, Shaquille O'Neal in 92, 93 Chris Webber, you make the trade for Penny, and then in 2004, Dwight Howard. All three of those ended up playing in NBA Finals. But the building, I hear the audio from David Stern when they traded Chris Webber for Penny Hardaway, right? It seemed like it was all boo, right? Nobody knew what to make of that at the time.
No, it caught those of us who knew it was going to happen by surprise, that the fans were just so adamant about Chris Webber.
Yeah, right.
Because, Penny was a great college player, but not as well known. And, this was 1993. So this was way before social media, the internet, and, viral videos, YouTube, all of that stuff. So Penny Hardaway was known as a terrific college player, but I don't think a lot of fans knew that much about his game. And so when the Magic made that announcement, of course, Chris Webber was a part of the Fab Four.
Sure.
Everybody knew who he was. Fab Five, everybody knew who Chris Webber was with Michigan, their great college program. And so the Magic making that swap on draft night, it caught a lot of fans by surprise. But Penny turned out to be the perfect fit for Shaquille O'Neal.
It was a perfect fit. So we'll have David Steele here. Again, we will hear from you all throughout the night. Up until about 8:10 when the Magic are set to make their pick, 407-916-8255, or text us 50857. He played 15 NBA seasons, 8 right here in City Beautiful. Mr. Bo Outlaw joining us here on the program. Bo, how special is this night, and how excited are you for the talent that the Magic are going to add here tonight?
Well, this night is very special, but it wasn't special for me in 1993. So I do remember
that was
that
your
draft.
year.
That was your year.
I remember that draft very well because my name didn't get called.
Yeah.
But
well, take it. And did you expect it? Were you expecting to be in there, or did you know you might have to go a different route?
I was not expecting it.
Yeah, okay.
I think I set myself up to not get drafted, so I didn't fall and get disappointed too much.
Yeah.
But in reality, you always think you're good enough to get drafted, and it was what it was, and I'm not mad at the route I took. But those guys were very talented. 1, 2, and 3 right there, as you say, Penny and Chris Webber. Now we got 3 more guys in the same situation. What do you do? How do you make this happen? Do you draft this guy, trade for that guy?
Right.
What's going to happen? That's what we're eager to see, because if you ask me, it's kind of a similar situation. But the difference is they didn't know Penny as well, but they know all 3 of these guys.
Yeah. There's not much unknown about the top picks now.
But Smith is kind of similar to Penny. He's known, but not as much as Banchero and Holmes.
Well, and we want to get your breakdown, and we'll get that momentarily, because we're assuming it's either going to be Paolo Banchero, it's going to be Chet Holmgren, or it's going to be Jabari Smith. We imagine one of those names will be called first, unless we get a big curveball. You never know. It could be somebody else, but we're expecting that. So we'll get to that momentarily. We'll break it down. Last but not least, and we go in this order because this is very important, folks. And David, I know you'll appreciate this as much, if not more than anybody. He is officially the radio play-by-play voice of the Orlando Magic, and we are making that announcement at this very second. Jake Chapman joins the broadcast. Congratulations, Jake Chapman. Can you hear the claps?
Hey.
All right. He is Jake Chapman. Congratulations. I'm very happy for you, man, and welcome aboard.
Dante, thank you so much. Well, David,
Now,
it's a big responsibility. It's a dream of mine to be able to fill shoes of, or attempt to fill the shoes of the man next to me, the man who last called play-by-play on the radio, Dennis Newman. So many people have done such a great job broadcasting both on television and radio for this organization that it is it's a dream come true to be able to just to throw my name on that list. And dude, I wouldn't be anywhere without you, Dante. I mean,
that's not true, man. You did this.
But look, it's going to be so much fun. It's something that you and I have worked for since it went away. We knew we needed to bring back a classic radio product, and I'm going to do my best. I'm going to make sure that we have a lot of fun, but that we put on a whole lot of good shows as well. And thank you so much.
Well, I know you will. David Pointers.
Yeah,
come on now.
I don't
let's
know
go.
what I could tell Jake. I've heard Jake's a great broadcaster.
Right.
I know that it's going to be a fun broadcast because we know Jake. Jake is a fun guy, and he knows the game.
Yep.
I've heard his calls in Detroit. You did some play-by-play for the Pistons.
I did a handful of
with
games.
Mark Champion.
Time and score. That's what he told me. Time and
score.
Just very important.
Keep it in the road, and add a little
Keep
flair.
it on the road.
You'll add your personality, which I know you will. You've got great personality, great sense of humor. You're going to be terrific. And, the last couple of years, the games have been simulcast, as our radio listeners know.
Correct, right.
And that's a tough thing. It's a tough thing as a broadcaster. It's difficult to handle both shows effectively. It's two different formats, and I was never very comfortable in that situation, especially from the radio point of view, because we really could not afford to sacrifice the television audience and, some of the features that we do on TV. It was difficult to make that translate on radio. So it makes a lot of sense. You're the right guy at the right time, and it's a great opportunity for you. You're going to kill it.
Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate it. And we understand how rapidly this world is changing, and every year it's sort of a new set of, okay, we're gonna try this, and then we're gonna plug this in, and hopefully this works.
Yeah.
And that's media in general these days. That's just broadcasting in general. So I think we're all very happy that this is where we are, and I know it's going to be a lot of work, but I'm ready for it.
Well, two of the best that have ever done it, predate you, and David Steele and Dennis Newman.
Yep.
So you certainly got some great mentors.
Massive shoes
and that's
to fill.
better than the advice he gave me. He told me verbatim, when I filled in for him, nobody expects much out of you, so just keep it on the road.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Right, exactly. Don't do too much.
Can I do a quick story? Want to hear a quick story? So Joe Tate, I grew up in Cleveland. Joe Tate was the reason I got into sports broadcasting is Joe Tate.
Sure.
League broadcasting meetings, 2010-11 or something like that, in New York City. I get to meet Joe Tate, my idol, for the first time. I said, Mr. Tate, I'm Jake Chapman. I grew up outside of Cleveland. You're one of the reasons I went into broadcasting. He said, don't put that on me. And I will never forget that.
That is beautiful.
What a great guy,
that's
Joe
almost
Tate.
Great guy.
Terrific
better
broadcaster, yeah.
Unbelievable.
That's almost as good as John Denton, voice of the Solar Bears, introducing himself to Chuck Daly. We can tell that story later. Chuck Daly, pleasure to meet you. I'm a big fan. I'm the voice of the Solar Bears. Chuck responds with, looks like you spilled something on your pants there. Had some turn up, some ketchup.
Well, I mean,
he was impressed.
He was impressed. He was impressed. Well, this is fun. We're having a lot of fun. I would say, Bo, how many people would you say are in this building? We're starting to fill up Amway Center here in anticipation of the first overall pick right now.
Right now, I say we might be at about 2,000.
2,000, okay.
And
people are still filing in. We had
the concourse is full up. I was just up there a minute ago. A lot of people mulling around up there.
Well, I can tell you this: if you're in your car and you're on your way in,
good luck.
Don't tarry. Get on down here because a lot of folks are trying to make their way in around the arena. There's some construction. Is that Huey right over here?
Yes, right. Yep.
Huey. That's closed over by the arena, and apparently there's only 2 of the possible 3 entrances into the Geico garage available. So it's a little tricky getting in here.
Did we sneak up on everybody with this event tonight? Is that
must have.
Yeah,
Surprised
must
a few
have.
Only
people.
at the top pick
Surprise
for
I think
6 weeks now.
I think it is. All right, it's the 2022 NBA Draft presented by Socios.com. Be more than a fan with Socios.com. Follow us at Socios USA on Twitter and check out Socios.com to learn more. Instagram as well, Socios USA. All right, let's go down the line. Let's play What If. That we are assuming it could be Paolo Banchero, it could be Jabari Smith, and it certainly could be Chet Holmgren. Let's play this out. Bo Outlaw, I start with you. If it's Chet Holmgren, what does Chet Holmgren, the talented one-and-done player from Gonzaga, 7 foot, 190 pounds, what does he add to this Magic team?
7 foot 190. What does he bring? He brings a long guy who can score at a lot of different places. He's going to be a guy that, in today's game, who stretches the court as there's no position, as they call it, positionless basketball. So he can play anywhere on the court. My thing with him would be him guarding somebody. What position does he guard? Does he guard the 5 or the 4 or the 3? So that would be my only concern with him.
Gotcha.
I don't know what position he guards.
You know what's interesting? I heard him say, Fran Fraschilla, obviously the great college talent, said he's small. He's thin, but he's not soft.
Yes.
He plays tough, right? I mean, David, I think that's at 7 foot. This is a guy that could potentially be a point guard in the NBA.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about.
Right?
They list him as a center, but he's not obviously your traditional center. He's a guy that can put the ball on the floor. He is a 39% three-point shooter, just under 40% at Gonzaga, his one and only year. He can handle the basketball. He's a great shot blocker. He probably is going to lead the NBA in block shots. So, they call him a unicorn. I mean, that's you've heard that about Porzingis, some other players that have come along. And, that's probably not a bad analogy. I mean, it's because you don't see these very often, a player with this kind of skill set at this size. Bo talked about the liability potentially on defense, and obviously another obvious liability might be, can his body stand up to the pounding of an 82-game season. That's what, the detractors that he has, that's what they talk about with regard to Holmgren. But you said it, Dante. Everything that I've heard, and I've heard a lot about his character and his work ethic, talk to people that have talked with him and know him as a player. He's really tough. Yes. He's very competitive. He really wants to win. He's got a fierce desire to be great. So, those things will carry him a long way. And he'll put some weight on, but he doesn't have that kind of frame that is going to add a lot of weight. Right, Bo? He's very thin shoulders. When Dwight Howard came in 2004, you could see that monster, that frame that was going to add a lot of weight. That's not going to be the case with Chet Holmgren.
But there's a couple of guys that were not in the center position that were in that similar position. Reggie Miller never gained weight.
Yeah. Kevin Durant.
Tayshaun Prince never gained weight. Kevin Durant and Kevin Garnett. So that toughness will take you a long way, as you can see with those guys I just named.
And what's one thing I think is interesting? It's a different game, obviously, than it was. I'm not as concerned like you might have been with Sean Bradley with, Shaq backing him down and just –
right.
It's
a different game.
He's got a 7'6" wingspan, and he can move his feet on the perimeter. So if your main concern is that somebody's just going to go right through him, wasn't that charging?
Right. Yeah, I know.
Used to be.
If he gets a good position, exactly.
I don't know the last time they called a charge.
Yeah, that's very true. I think it's a little overblown, the frame. But like both said, you got to find a place to put him defensively, and he's got to be able to accentuate 3.5 block shots a game or whatever. He was 4th in the country in college last year. Is he going to lead the league in block shots his rookie season? If not, then you might have some issues. He needs to be right up there right away.
All right, then let's flip the script. Let's go to the other end of the spectrum. And Paolo Banchero, 6'10", 250. He does have the frame, right? So and it's a guy that can handle the basketball. He's a playmaker. Maybe doesn't have the three-point shot yet, but he's capable. He was in college, certainly in an NCAA tournament. What do we like about Paolo if he's the number one pick?
I would say the body, certainly. I mean, it's vice versa, right? When I spoke with Emil Jefferson, former Magic player, former Lakeland player, and an assistant coach now on their staff.
Did you do research for this?
I did a couple podcasts.
Of
but yes,
course,
I did a little bit of research.
Good for you, Jake.
What else am I supposed to be doing, Dante? I am not married with kids. I have a dog, and we're in the middle of the offseason here.
That's awesome.
So I have done a lot of reading, but we did a couple podcasts, and I'm glad I did it the way I did, which is
great,
one for each prospect because it didn't let me get too high or too low on anybody. Right. And also, it didn't – I'm not doing confirmation bias, right? Like, we all watch these guys. We all watch Banchero. He's probably the best player in college basketball last year, certainly in the tournament. Well, you have to do a little bit more research, and Lord knows Jeff and John have done a lot in the front office, have done a lot more research than just watching those games. But I really like speaking to those guys because you started to get opinions that were maybe a little bit different. It wasn't all the groupthink that I think you get as you go through, social media and all of the people who get paid to do this for a living, to talk about it anyways, with Bank. And that was what Emil Jefferson said. He's like, you hear how big he is, and then you see him, and he's even bigger. Where he's talking 6'11", 255, right. Maybe still growing. And he said, I think his game kind of reminds me a little of Paul Pierce. That was what I said to Emil. And he said, Paul Pierce, plus 5 inches and 50 pounds. He is a
big.
Guard in a forward's body or a forward in a guard, with a guard skill set. Very, very impressive physically. Obviously played at Duke with a whole bunch of really talented kids. I think one of my concerns at first was that physical dominance maybe looked even better in the ACC and in college basketball. But you could say that about any prospect. I mean, Jabari was shooting over guys because he's 6'11", and Chet was blocking shots because he's got a 7'6" wingspan. So a very, very intriguing prospect.
And I don't think any of these guys are the finished body. The college game is so much different.
Sure.
We're going to see these guys. They're not able to showcase what they can do fully in college in 1 year. NBA will be a different game. David, the other guy is Jabari Smith. Right, everybody went to bed last night. He was the odds-on favorite to be the number one pick.
What happened?
We woke up this morning. You ever seen anything like that?
No, never have.
All the odds went right to Paolo Banchero.
It's crazy.
It really is.
Another really talented big guy. They're both 6'10".
Yep.
They both have a 7'1" wingspan.
Right.
So they're both big human beings. You're talking about, and then with Holmgren at 7'1" with a 7'6" wingspan.
Right.
So any of the three that we get tonight, you're going to add size and great basketball ability at an elite level, any one of the three. So with Smith, the obvious thing you get is that sweet shot, and that is as pure of a shot as you're going to see. I mean, it is big-time three-point field goal shot, and he can get it off. He gets it off quickly. He gets it off from a high location, and it's not going to – he's 6'10". It's not going to be easy to block his shot or even deter him from getting a good look. So, he's going to be a guy that can, and we all know how badly we need three-point shooting.
That's exactly right.
So he would be a great fit. I think all three of these guys would fit with the Orlando Magic. I really do. I think any one of the three. If it's Holmgren, then you can play alongside Wendell Carter Jr. And Franz Wagner. Those guys are pretty interchangeable. And if it's one of the other two, then obviously – probably have Wendell at the 5 and then one of those guys at the 4, right, Bo?
Yeah, that's a great choice.
And I think that's a nice fit too. Either one.
Like you said, if you get Smith, then your 4 position can go. I say between Franz and Smith. You don't know any given night.
Position. You said it. Positionless basketball.
Positionless. But my thing is, like you said, Smith's jump shot reminds me of a guy named Allen Houston.
Oh yeah.
That jump shot was so pure.
Okay.
Man,
he was only 6'5".
But that's my point, and he got his shot off.
He had long arms, though.
Can you recall his shot getting blocked?
So does
you saw a lot of basketball.
Yeah,
when's the last time you seen this shot get blocked?
Yeah, that's true.
But like you say, he's 6'5". This guy's 6'10", shooting the ball like that. That's a pretty good shot.
Ooh. You know what's interesting? Think about this. We got all these guys 6'10", 6'11" that are handling the basketball. Who's one of the first point forwards that we can remember, right? Go back maybe mid-late 90s. Remember a certain forward that used to handle the basketball for the Orlando Magic? I mean, you were one, right? That was one of the, when we kind of started running, handling the basketball with the 4. Bo was kind of one of the first guys to do that.
Chuck Daly allowed me to do that, and I think that started in practice. He's like, man, go ahead, dribble it. I'm like dribble it? Like, all right, so I dribble it up. And when I brought the ball up, we had like a couple of set plays that we knew we were going to run.
Yeah.
And
it worked.
I looked at it like this. You put the worst shooter, you got the ball in his hand, you can't help off of him because I have the ball. So therefore the play is going to work. If I was in another position and I didn't shoot the ball well, your help is going to be in the way. So I think he was genius by putting me with the ball and like.
Didn't it just run away from you when you had the ball in your hands?
You run away from me. I'm going to run right behind you to the rim. Go ahead.
Yes, I am.
You go ahead.
We got Sean Green here as well, our grad assistant. As news breaks, we're going to get word of it. He'll relay it to it. It looks like Philly is in talks on a 3-way deal. Matisse Thybulle could be involved. Eric Gordon could be on the move, right? We're going to hear all these rumors all throughout the night. The Magic have already moved the 35th pick. They sent it to the Los Angeles Lakers for cash considerations and a future second-round pick in 2060. So we'll see that here, I think, is the rumor. I think we're going to get that. No, is that 2028 is the rumor. It could be 2028.
26.
And the Timberwolves could trade, and Sean's telling me the Timberwolves could trade D'Angelo Russell here tonight. So this could be a lot of fun. There could be a lot of wheeling and dealing.
They better not steal our thunder.
They better not. They better not make a blockbuster.
About the Magic tonight.
We have the #1 pick. You can see all 43 Magic home games with the thrill of a different seat each game for one low price with a fast break season pass. See the Magic play the Warriors, Celtics, Heat, and more for less than $14 a game. Plus, for a limited time only, you'll receive an exclusive Magic hoodie with your online purchase. Visit OrlandoMagic.com/fastbreak to lock in your season fast break pass now. When we come back, President of Basketball Operations, Jeff Weltman, joins me right here on 96.9 The Game.
All right, we're clear.
They're mocked.
Yeah, I know. It's just like talking.
I know. That's all it is.
At Ring Central.
You are listening to the Orlando
All right, guys, mic's up.
NBA Draft Show, presented by Socios.com on 96.9 The Game.
And welcome back, everyone, to the 2022 NBA Draft Show presented by Socios.com. We're going to hear from Magic President of Basketball Operations, Jeff Weltman. I was able to catch up with him a day or two ago. But before we do that, guys, because I knew Bo was going to mention the 1993 NBA Draft, and he was going to say he didn't get drafted, right? I knew he was going to go there. I know him well enough because it should have been drafted, especially if you look at the names that did get drafted that night. There is one player from that draft, 1993, that played longer in the NBA than Bo Outlaw.
Only one.
Only one. So he didn't get drafted. One player from that whole draft had a longer career than Bo Outlaw.
Wait a minute. I've got an Is This Anything file.
Yeah.
And, hold on.
That's impressive.
All right.
93
All right.
draft.
Just to pull up
my.
one guy got drafted
Bo
that year
Outlaw.
and played more than Bo Outlaw.
What?
So think about your draft year. I'll give you the two that tied you. All right? You have Sam Cassell and Chris Webber.
Two pretty good players.
Both played 15 years
15
like you
years.
did. One guy that played longer. And he's got a connection to Allen
good.
Houston.
That's a good
You
nugget.
mentioned-
He's got a
you
connection
mentioned-
to Allen
You mentioned Allen
Houston.
Houston. There's a connection there.
So
with this guy.
Detroit, New York.
Be a New York Knick. Who would that?
Not a Nick, but it was Detroit.
The Pistons.
I don't know if they were traded for each other potentially, but
Who was
I've
with
got
Detroit?
that
You a
in my head.
Detroit guy?
Yeah, I mean for a couple of
Lindsey
years.
Hunter.
Lindsey Hunter. I did radio
Lindsey
with
Hunter,
him.
yeah.
Lindsey Hunter
Yeah.
played 17 NBA
about
seasons. The only one to outlast Bo Outlaw, who didn't get
Do
drafted.
you want to know what's funny about that? In Chicago, pre-draft time, we were on the same team, and he was not on the radar. And we were playing.
Isn't that amazing?
We-
That just goes to show.
We were playing a game,
Yep.
and there was a guard, and I'm trying to think, from Utah. That was like one of the best. And he ripped him
Miller.
3 straight times.
Who's that? Andre Miller?
No.
No.
amazing?
And he was just talk of the tournament. Unbelievable.
It's so funny that those two got, because I did a lot of radio in Detroit with Lindsey. He was coaching his son.
Sure.
They're like peas in a pod, these two. Bo Outlaw, Lindsey Hunter.
So it doesn't surprise you.
Not at all. You want to talk about carving out a 15-year, 17-year
Yes.
NBA career?
That guy.
Fourth most was Penny Hardaway, 14 years. Not a bad player either. So that was
He
pretty
was
good.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
So
wasn't
it's that's
what
pretty good.
the heck?
So there you go. One of those three. Who's it going to be? Earlier, I had a chance to catch up with Jeff Weltman to kind of pick his brain and get his thoughts on everything that leads up to the NBA draft here tonight.
All right, Jeff. Well, Dante,
Guys are clear.
Magic President of Basketball Operations, Jeff Weltman. Jeff, I want to go back, if you don't mind, maybe 3 or 4 weeks. I don't know that I've heard from you your reaction when you found out the Magic got the #1 pick. Kind of take us through that day and then that revelation when you saw the Magic up there first.
Seems like a long time ago now, Dante. I don't know, just elation, excitement, knowing that you're going to add a really good player to our team and someone that we get to handpick without any kind of interference.
Absolutely. Did you give, how much credit does Joel get for being in that room and kind of making the whole thing happen? And do you wish he could have got you a message of some kind, which I guess is impossible?
I don't know about a message because that could get kind of dicey, but I will say that Joel did yeoman's work the night of the lottery, and if you ask him, he'll tell you all about it.
All right, fast forward to now. Here we are, the week of the draft. What have the 3 weeks been like? And now holding the golden ticket, as Tim Reynolds said earlier, having the #1 pick, that whole experience the last few weeks.
It hasn't been so different than most drafts. Honestly, it's really about the preparation and the process that we kind of work hard to put in place, year after year, so that we can, get the most accurate readings on the players and the people and how they would, affect our team. So all of our different departments, all of the various layers that we kind of bring to the process, every year we work on those throughout the whole season to improve them. And so I don't think it's been that different. I guess, the only difference is you can't have any calls about trading up. Other than that, it's pretty much been the same process.
I should know this, but have you been part of an organization that's had the #1 pick? And if not, you mentioned earlier some of the conversations you've had with other teams that have had the #1 pick and maybe some tidbits that they gave you.
Yeah, we had one of our guys actually reach out. It was a really interesting exercise, and it wasn't my idea. That he reached out to a group of teams that have recently had the #1 pick, and some of the nuggets were kind of interesting. Like what I said in the press conference was one: don't get married too soon. Let the process play out, even though you have kind of control over it. Don't assume that you still aren't going to learn new things as you go. But I would say those are like more nuanced. I don't think those are real, probably huge difference makers. They've kind of like brought about a couple interesting conversations.
How much has this changed from when you started the whole draft process to now when you get a guy in, what you're able to do now?
Well, the actual draft visit or the whole process?
The actual visit or process, how much this whole entire operation has changed?
I mean, well, put it this way, Dante. When I got here, not when I got to the NBA, 30-something years ago. When I got here to Orlando,
We got 4 minutes, 20 seconds.
35 people on staff, maybe pushing 40, and we're at 60 now. So it's changed rapidly, and it's for the better. We're all doing better work, and I think the league is much more competitive. There are fewer places where you can kind of feel that you can kind of gain an easy advantage. So the process itself is all about, getting to know people. And, it starts in Chicago when you sit with them in hotel rooms and watch them, do their performance testing and that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, it's changed a lot. I mean, with technology and with the number of people and with the different lenses that are available to us now, the process has definitely changed significantly.
What are some of the pillars you can tell us? When you sit down and talk and visit with some of these guys, I think we have a good idea of the kind of people you're looking for, but what are kind of some of the pillars you put in place when you're deciding who's going to be the number one pick?
Yep. Well, I mean, obviously there's an on-court component, there's a performance component, there's a personality component.
3 minutes.
An analytics component. I mean, I can kind of go on, but basically, how do we flesh out the most complete picture that we can of the person and the player, and where that person and where that player are on their developmental curve, because we're dealing with 19 and 20-year-olds mostly.
How comfortable, do you ever feel comfortable going into draft night? Obviously, you've done your work, but is there still nervousness? Is there still stuff that goes into it? And what do you expect the next couple of days to look like as you kind of zero in on a decision?
I mean, there's always excitement because you kind of feel like you've worked hard to put the team in place to make an improvement on that night. I wouldn't say a nervousness, but I would say, very much a state of preparation, because obviously, as we all know, like, stuff happens on the clock, stuff happens during the draft, and part of what we work really hard to do is
2 minutes, fellas.
or even maybe predictively close off some avenues. So we may get a call on the clock that might be a tricky call, but if we've already said, listen, if teams are going to try to go here or there, those are calls we're not going to be interested in on draft night. And I try to be communicative of that with the other GMs around the league to let them know that if we should be having talks about something, let's try to do it earlier in the week, because we don't like to be, made to make a decision.
Minute 30.
Resources being applied to it.
How important is that? All those extra layers and the staff that you have to kind of troubleshoot all scenarios.
It's everything. I mean, it's everything. Without that, you're kind of, honestly, you're playing checkers with everybody else around you playing chess. So you need to have all those, processes and all the applications put in place, or you're not going to be competitive.
All right, lastly, what excites you the most about this player you're going to get?
1 minute.
Going to have a lot of potential, a lot of talent, going to add it to an already up-and-coming team. What excites you and what should excite the fan base most about Thursday night?
I just know that we're going to get a really talented player with all the attributes that we're looking for, skill level, size, IQ, character, and, we're going to add him to a group that we feel we're already growing with all of those traits. So, throw in the kind of
30 seconds.
Staff's integration into our players and the players getting to know one another for a year now. Throw in the fact that we're going to move into the new Advent practice facility next month. There's just a whole lot of good stuff going on. And I think that once we add another talented player who's all about the right stuff.
10 seconds.
It just increases our ceiling, and we're going to build it, with all the excitement that we've been doing.
Mike's hot.
Excited, and good luck to you on Thursday night.
Thank you so much, Dante.
David, what's the line from Airplane? Good luck, and we're all counting on you.
Good luck, we're all counting on you. You gave him that one, didn't you? Right?
I gave him that
Walking
one.
right out of the building.
That's exactly right.
That was beautiful.
Because I think that's how we're all feeling. No question about it. And we know that they've done their due diligence and they'll get it right. No question. We're about 25 minutes away from the official start of the 2022 NBA Draft. Thanks so much for listening to our draft show presented by Socios.com. Be more than a fan with Socios.com. Follow us at Socios USA on Twitter and Instagram, and check out Socios.com to learn more. When we come back, we're going to get your comments. We got comments pouring in on the Magic YouTube page, so we'll get to some of those as well. You can call us, 407-916-8255, 407-916-8255, or if you're like Jake and you hate talking on the phone, you can text us, 50857, 50857.
Unfair.
We want to know. We want to know who you want to hear their name called here as the first overall pick. We'll be back. More of the draft show after this.
Going
Clear.
forward.
All right, all.
All right, fellas, Mike's hot.
The game.
And we're back, the 2022 NBA Draft Show presented by Socios.com. You can get your official 2022 Magic Draft Hat. You can get your own in the same style of the official draft hat that will be worn on stage by our number one pick. Visit OrlandoMagicShop.com to get yours today. And one of the coolest things about doing this, David, you've done a number of these, and we're going to talk to the number one pick on this broadcast. We'll get the first interview with this individual. So Trish Wingerson, who does a terrific job for the communications team, she's up there at Barclays Center in Brooklyn, and she'll corral the number one pick, and she'll get him on the line for us. So that's exciting as well.
Yeah, that's a big part of what we do on this draft show, and it's a great benefit for our fans who are tuned in, because you're going to hear the first comments for the number one pick in the NBA draft right here. And the excitement will be, I'm sure, in this building, regardless of who it is. I mean, I guess fans have their guy. You know, if you talk to a fan, they have their guy. It's got to be Chet. It's got to be Paolo. it's got to be Jabari. But I think when the pick is made, I'll be surprised if there's anything but a positive response because, they're all three rated very, very high. There's a clear top tier of players in this draft. So I think you're going to come out with a terrific player regardless.
And I think that's interesting. Maybe that's something that has changed since like 93, for instance. I mean, nobody had any idea who Penny was, basically.
Yeah.
Everybody had
That's
seen
right.
Chris Webber, obviously, in the deep run, and Michigan was so high profile. Now, boy, if you don't know who these three guys are, you get so many resources. You can watch every second of basketball they ever played if you want to.
You're most definitely out of the loop under a rock or
Right.
something because, like you said, everyone here will say something different who they want, but once the selection come in, they'd be like, okay, I'm happy with him anyway. It's not going to be a fall-up like, what? Like, nah, they're going to be like, okay, but I wanted him, but he's just as good. So it's going to be a
Unless we
great
go
response.
way off, though. If it's E.J. Liddell, then I think probably you might hear some boos.
Might be some boos. But, I think back when I think of
I think that's safe to say.
when I think of a draft with three clear-cut top guys.
Yes.
2014, right? Andrew Wiggins.
Okay.
Jabari
Parker.
Joel Embiid.
Very good point.
And, Andrew Wiggins now, what is this, 8 years into his NBA career? He's finally hit.
It's a great point.
He's finally hit his peak. It took him 8 years.
He finally became an all-star, right?
Yeah. Jabari Parker has had all kinds of injuries.
Right.
He has not had a great career. And then Joel Embiid has been the third pick. Philly would have taken, if they'd had one or two, they would not have taken Joel Embiid. They would have taken Parker or Wiggins.
There were so many concerns about injuries with him.
Exactly. So
that's a really good point.
My point is, you look at these guys, they're 19 years old, and nobody really knows who's going to be the guy to rise to the top. So you do your due diligence, you do all your research, you make your best bet, and then you just go forward and hope you got the right guy.
Well, it's interesting to call. You're talking 19 and 20, right? Jabari just turned 19 a month ago, right?
Wow.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Chet Holmgren is 20, right? So you got Ludwig here who says, please, it's got to be Jabari or Paolo. You've got a lot that say it's got to be Chet Holmgren. You got Jeanette Sanchez that says we need Jabari Smith. I mean, it's interesting to me because I think if you ask 30 general managers, I think you'll get 10 for each guy. Yeah. I think if you poll 30 fans, you'll get 10 for each guy. Right? Yeah. It seems, to you guys' point, you can make a case for each one of those three.
No question about it, right, Jake?
Number one.
Throw Jaden Ivey in there. I've talked to a whole bunch of fans today who want Jaden Ivey.
That's right.
I mean, and look, he's a great prospect. I think it is interesting, and I love the example that David used because, Wiggins – there are still people who think Andrew Wiggins is a bust and a disappointment just because he was the top pick. He's a very, very good basketball player, an all-star, and the Warriors do absolutely not win that championship without him. But the level of expectations are so high so soon that we just don't know. And I also think this. Paolo Banchero to Orlando might look different than Paolo Banchero to Houston, might look different than Paolo Banchero to Oklahoma City, and vice versa. Situations, cultures, and systems and coaching staffs and all of that stuff weighs in, absolutely.
Well, David, we've got a question here. What about Mo Bamba? And I think it's interesting. So Hank Hill writes in, will Mo Bamba be coming back? And I think if you look at our roster constitution, I looked this up. I know you did too. We've got 10 guys under contract. As of June 30th, Mo Wagner's contract will be fully guaranteed.
Right.
We imagine Mo will be back. Devin Kennedy can opt in. We know he signed a multi-year deal. He's going to join us about 9 o'clock here on this program.
I think Devin is partially guaranteed, right?
Partially guaranteed. He can opt in. He can opt in fully, and we'll see when that becomes fully guaranteed as well. So call it maybe 11 of your 15 spots are taken, right? You're going to add the number 1 pick, maybe the 32nd pick, and move it around. As you look at
Bol too is part of the mix too.
But Bol, if he's able to come back. Look at a guy like Mo Bamba, who's going to be a free agent. He's restricted.
Right.
What are your thoughts on?
Well, I think he did enough to give the Magic a lot to think about as far as bringing him back.
Yeah.
I felt like he had by far his best year. He stayed healthy. He showed signs of, the motor that you're looking for in a big guy like that. Clearly, the three-point shot is his strength still.
Yes.
So you'd like to see him develop more of his offensive game. And already a terrific shot blocker, but I think he did enough to give the Magic a lot to think about. It'll all shake out after the draft, what they decide to do with Bol. I'm not sure how you keep Bamba and Bol on the same roster. So, we'll see what happens.
And if you like both,
going forward,
you might look at the money.
Yeah.
Right? That might be
that
determining factor, right? If you're looking at that.
I think teams are going to – I think somebody's going to throw a big contract offer at Mo Bamba. I mean, there's still a whole bunch of upside there, right?
He played well
he played
this
very
year.
well to close the year out for sure.
Adrian Wojnarowski tweeted out, as I just reported on our NBA Draft Show on ESPN, Duke's Paolo Banchero has joined Auburn's Jabari Smith under serious consideration to be the franchise's #1 overall pick.
Oh.
There's a real chance draft boards could get blown up at the top of the lottery.
If nothing else, let's blow up some draft boards. That's what I'm
nothing
here
else,
for.
I'm all for blowing up
That's
draft
what I'm
boards.
here for.
You know what I'm saying?
This
So
is going to be
we're going to let you marinate on that. We'll give you our thoughts when we come back. Paolo
Woj
Banchero.
doesn't know what he's talking about.
I
tell you what. If we could, let me say this.
I'm hoping
that was
one day.
a joke,
I'm hoping
by the way.
one day
That was a
he
joke.
gets. I'm hoping he gets something right one day.
But let me tell you this: if we can get through tonight without mentioning Kyrie Irving, that'll be a win for me.
Thank you,
We
David.
already mentioned it.
You already did it.
One and done. That was it.
Okay.
I'm with you. I'm with you. So we're going to get your thoughts on that. Paolo Banchero joining the conversation for #1 for the Orlando Magic. More of the 2022 NBA Draft Show presented by Socios.com when we return after this.
All right.
It's a 2022 NBA Draft Show presented by Socios.com. Be more than a fan with Socios.com. Follow us at Socios USA on Twitter and Instagram. Check out Socios.com to learn more. Well, we just mentioned before the break that Paolo Banchero has joined the conversation per Adrian Wojnarowski. Bo, do you guys follow Woj? Former players, right? Are you guys as invested in Woj as all of us are, media guys?
I don't think you have no choice but to follow Woj. Like, if you're involved in anything basketball, Woj is going to mention something. You'll be like, man, did you see what happened? Did you see what happened? So if you don't follow him, you're going to pay attention, and he's going to keep you in the loop of what's being said around the league. How he gets the information, I don't know, but
It's
he
amazing.
has a phone line direct to everybody.
Well, the draft show officially starts at 8 o'clock. The Magic will go on the clock about 8:05, and we expect the first pick to be made about 8:10. So we're getting about 20 minutes away from that first pick. David, your thoughts when you hear that Paolo Banchero, we knew it would be one of these three, right? Yeah. So probably not a huge surprise, but everybody had Jabari Smith, and now we're hearing Paolo has joined that conversation.
Not really a surprise, Dante, because, again, the three players are all seen pretty much on the same tier, on the same level by the basketball experts. And, you know, the Magic, you talked with Jeff Weltman. He discussed it with you in the interview. There's so much research that goes into this. They talk to everybody. They've been watching these young men for many years because Paolo Banchero has been on the radar for a long time. He was a big-time athlete in the 8th grade. Kind of like Jalen Suggs and a lot of these NBA athletes, they're on the radar. They're spotted early for their athleticism, whether it's football or basketball. Paolo was a great football player in the 8th and 9th grade. So another two-sport athlete, but great athlete, great college player at Duke last year. And so it wouldn't surprise me if that's the guy the Magic take. Wouldn't surprise me at all because, again, you're going to take one of these three and you're going to do all your research, and then you're going to make your best bet when you have the number one pick.
How much stock? That's a great point. And it sounds like had he stayed with football, he was a great football player. He could have been a Division I football player.
6'10" quarterback or running back.
It's like LeBron.
What position did he play?
He was quarterback in 9th grade, but then he had to stop to go into.
Yeah, that ain't gonna work.
But he had to make the decision to go into basketball. And his father, his uncle, they both played football at Washington, so he comes from a football family. But Jake, how much stock do you put in? We always say it doesn't matter come the tournament time. The body of work is done. You can't make or break your lottery position based on how you play in the tournament. But when a guy on the biggest stage of his career plays his best basketball, like Banchero did, right? He played 5 NCAA tournament games, helped his team get to the Final Four in Coach K's final year, all the pressure that came with that. He shot 53% from 3. He shot 19 points a game, played his best basketball in the most meaningful time. How much stock should be put in that?
I think obviously it's part of the equation. I think sometimes we overreact.
I put it all on that.
Well, I
always do.
I think people like you and I sort of obscure that viewpoint because we
only
only watch 2 or 3 games.
I would take everybody on St. Peter's would be in my lottery.
right.
Especially the guy with a mustache.
The guy who's never had a sandwich before. I think that's the same guy. I think the guy with the mustache is the guy who's never had a sandwich.
That guy would be
by the way, we get him off my draft board, the fact that he's never had a sandwich.
That's right.
No, but I do think there's – okay, so, for instance, Eric Musselman, our buddy, head coach at Arkansas, coached against all 3 of these guys.
That's
Chet,
right.
Paolo, and Jabari. And he said after the fact, he said Paolo's the one that we had no answer for physically. And I think I look into stuff like that because look at that Arkansas team. There's a lot of pros. It's a former pro coach, and they're bad boys.
Long and athletic and tough.
It was
and
a
well-coached.
tough, well-coached football basketball team, and football came out of my mouth because some of those guys sort of look like that. So I do think you could read into that a little bit. The fact that Paolo Banchero played against that Arkansas team and against a lot of teams at the highest level and dominated physically. I mean, I think comfortably you could say he was the best player in college basketball last year, right?
No question.
Right.
Yeah, and so I think you can read into that. If somebody has a bad game in the tournament, no, I'm not knocking him down 5-6 spots on my draft board. That happens.
Sure.
For Chet, for instance, against the same Arkansas team. But with that said, I mean, I think you have to look into that at the highest level. And I do think Paolo has a little bit more than the other two, maybe like superstar sort of personality. It doesn't seem like the lights are too bright for him. He seems like he's ready for all of this, being the number one pick, or at least being in New York and being up there on the stage. I think he's got a little bit of that, I want all the smoke, as the kids are saying in him. And so
the kids are saying
and I think that matters. When you're the top pick and you're going to be the face of a franchise, you better be ready for it.
But like you said, that bright light thing, he went to Duke. They're used to that stage.
Yeah.
It's a big stage. And it was Coach K's last year, so the stage got even bigger. And if you really look at it, they were not the talk of that conference. But tournament time came, as you say, they got to the Final Four. You wouldn't have said they were Final Four. I didn't think they were Final Four team until the tournament started. I'm like,
that's true.
Okay,
that's
they're
true.
really playing well at the biggest time, like you said, stepping up. The light was the brightest because Coach K's last game. They didn't win their last game against North Carolina. and you could have thought they could have laid it down.
That's right.
I think they got in that locker room and said, hey, we got to play better for Coach K, and he was the leader of that group.
Let me ask you a question about, do you think sometimes it works against guys when they go to a Duke and you've got Mark Williams and you've got Griffin and all these guys are going to be drafted probably back half of the first round. He played with 3 or 4 other likely NBA pros. That's a good thing, right? But I feel like sometimes people use it as a knock. Like, of course he looked good. He was on an all-star team.
Yeah, it's not bad because you're playing with guys that you say are going to be potential pros, so they have the pro mentality.
Yeah.
They know how to play the game. And if you look at Duke's system, it was really in the offense. It was basketball players making plays.
Yeah.
They ran a set play. How often do they run a set play? They made basketball plays. Coach gave them the freedom to kick the ball up. You make an NBA decision. By having a shot, make a play, not kick it back, no over-dribbling, no unnecessary dribbling, making basketball plays, and that's why they were successful.
I looked at his last 11 games, not just the tournament, but his last 11 games in college at Duke. That's end of the regular season and tournament play. He averaged 19 points, 6.5 rebounds, 4 assists, 52% from the field, 45% threes.
Ooh.
And
11-game sample.
That's the last 11 games. And I've seen freshmen in college. I've seen other college players. Bradley Beal at Florida. He played 1 year at Florida.
Yep, right.
He was, a good player for the first half of the season, and then the second half of the season, he took off for the Gators, and he was clearly a premier NBA prospect. I think he was the 3rd pick in the draft that year.
Yeah.
So I like it when a guy plays at the highest level and he gets better as the season goes on as a 19-year-old freshman. And then in the NCAA tournament, he's the best player in the tournament. That tells me a lot right there.
You're finishing the season strong.
Yeah.
Starting to figure something out.
And
figured something out.
What'd you say the tournament? It's a game, 35, 36, 37?
Yeah.
So, therefore, that's going to be mid-part of the season. So, therefore, you're going to need that kid in the NBA season of 82 games.
Yeah, that's a good
start
point.
figuring things out and can I finish this season.
In 11 games, that's a pretty good sample size. Isn't that the exact amount of games Kyrie Irving played at Duke?
Here we go with the –
No, he didn't play that.
There we go.
Come on. You're not supposed to say
that many, was it?
Oh,
That's right. I ruined it.
Didn't even get
I forgot.
It's in his blood.
My bad.
Everybody's talking about it
My
right
bad.
now. Okay, so we're getting a lot of comments. Boy, these guys are really selling Paolo Banchero. All right, so let's be fair. So let's look at Jabari Smith. We're heavy on Banchero because that's what they said. He's joined the conversation for number 1. And a lot of people on here are saying you guys have won me over on Paolo Banchero.
Yeah.
Right? So this is some good information, and I think you're right. Michael Henderson in particularly crediting Jake Chapman for winning him over.
All right.
So I think that's good. But I think a lot of people are fine with Smith or Banchero. But let's be fair. Let's go down the middle and let's look at Jabari Smith. How does Jabari Smith fit into this team? A team that's been perennially 28th, 29th in three-point percentage,
they
field
both
goal
fit.
percentage.
Yeah.
He's a guy that can stand out there and knock down shots too.
And that's what you want. Like I said, Allen Houston, a guy can flat out shoot the ball. Is there a spot on the court that Smith cannot shoot the ball from?
I don't think so.
Would you say, don't shoot this shot, don't shoot that shot? If he has the ball anywhere on that court, you're comfortable with that guy making a play for you and making it a pretty good shot attempt at any time. That's a guy you say, I need him because he's a flat-out shooter. And I might think he's more of a shooter than a scorer.
Yeah.
The scorer is the guy who's a slasher. John Morant's a scorer. I think Smith's more of a shooter. He's a guy that can catch and shoot, but I'm not saying he cannot create his own shot. There's a big difference.
Yeah, true.
So that's going to be key in him. I guess, like I say, if he's with Houston, he's with Oklahoma, or he's with us. Does he fit? Yes. Like I said, you can put your hat, you can put a cup with them names in there, and you pick one out, you will not go wrong.
Yeah. I think that is very true. The thing that he can't do so far, they're all 19 years old, so they all have flaws in their games right
100%.
now. But what Jabari can't do right now that Banchero can is put the ball on the floor and get to the basket and have a mid-range game. Banchero has a beautiful mid-range game. His three-point shot is not as sweet as Jabari Smith. And, he was at 34% last year for the season. But, again, he finished the last 11 games 45% from beyond the arc. And that's when the games were the most important games. So he's going to be able to shoot the three. Maybe not ever as well as Jabari Smith Jr., but he's going to be an adequate three-point shooter. And when you need a bucket, he's a guy that you're going to be able to give the ball to. How many times have we said on the air, You got to have a guy, when the shot clock's running down, you can put the ball in his hands, and he can get you his shot.
That's it. I heard
Banchero will be able to do that.
I heard Fran Fraschilla on the way in on Sirius Radio, to your point, David, say of the three, Banchero's the one that can be a number one option out of those three. To your point, go get your basket. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to duck in one final break. When we come back, the Orlando Magic will officially be on the clock, and we will kick off the 2022 NBA Draft Show. This is our draft show presented by Socios.com. Keep those comments coming. We are about 10 minutes away from the Magic making the first pick in the 2022 NBA Draft. We'll come back with the Magic on the clock when we return after this.
Dunking on the competition.
All right, we're clear.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2022 NBA Draft Show presented by Socios.com. And how about that? This place is rocking. Guys, I thought it was electric last year in this building. What do you guys make of the atmosphere inside Amway Center tonight, fellas?
This is all new to me right here. This is about to be amazing because the excitement for this call right here.
I think probably looking at 10, 12,000 people in here right now.
This is great.
It's a great crowd.
10, 12,000 people. They're already waiting on pins and needles. Adam Silver is at the podium to officially kick off the 2022 draft and put the Orlando Magic on the clock. Well, guys, it could be any one of those three. We now assume it could be two, Jabari Smith or Paolo Banchero.
Oh,
what do you think those two guys are thinking right now, Bo? How badly does each of those guys want to be the number one pick?
They're looking like, let it be me, let it be me. That's
right.
what it is.
Right?
They've got millions of reasons to want to be the number one pick.
Yes, they do. There's a lot on the line here.
Yeah.
But I think about these fans, guys, as we look around and as we're getting ready to start this, these fans have been phenomenal. You've been here since day one, David.
Yes.
These fans have been faithful. They've been loyal. They've stayed with this team through thick and thin. You're about as happy as anything for them that they get to have this experience, right?
It's been too many years that the Magic have not had the relevance that this franchise really deserves.
Right.
It's got a great, colorful history. Shaquille O'Neal, Penny Hardaway, a championship contender, 4 or 5 years into existence. Another great run with Dwight Howard in 2008, 2009. And even in the years that they were not championship contenders, you had the heart and hustle team. You had personality. You had Bo Outlaw, Darrell Armstrong, Ben Wallace. That team was fun to watch. You had Tracy McGrady, one of the top 5 players in the NBA for, 6 or 7 years? 4 years, I guess, with the Orlando Magic. So this franchise has a great history, and I think a lot of young fans don't understand that. But now with the number one pick, you got a chance with recent draft picks, and they look very, very good. This franchise is on the rise, and that's going to be fun to watch. These fans deserve it.
And you know what, that's a great point. They do deserve it because they've been there, they've been loyal, and now you kind of get some of that relevance that you mentioned now with the number one pick. And there's an exciting young core, let's face it, that you're going to build around. And the energy in this building, the last month or two of the season, I thought kind of indicated all that.
I realized we have the number one pick. The whole lower bowl is full.
I know.
I realized tickets were free, and we had the number one pick. The entire lower bowl is full. And you remember last year, it was almost the first time because of the pandemic that we all were like
that's true.
In one place and able to like touch elbows, and not everybody. It was just, it sort of felt like we released a whole bunch of exercise, a bunch of demons last year. This is more like it. I mean, there's a whole lot of people here, and rightfully so, but this is very impressive.
Now there was equal cheers.
There you go.
Equal cheers for Jabari Smith, who they just put on the Jumbotron, and Paolo Banchero, who they just put on.
They're on the clock.
And the Orlando Magic are officially on the clock.
On the clock.
Here we go, guys.
You know what I just felt like when I saw those pictures? When you're at the camp and you put your hand over the kid's head, who gets the cheers?
right.
Well, the winner gonna get the most cheers. That was amazing right
now,
there.
wait a second. Should we go based on the suits? What did you guys think about the gear?
Banchero is hands down. That suit he
Paolo's got a purple double-breasted looking thing. I like it.
I don't know what was on there. Some
Were those Larry O'Brien trophies or something like that?
He wants that to be a number one suit. That's what he wants that to be.
That looks like a number one suit. I will say that much.
That was sweet.
And you think about the decision, it's easy to look back and say, hey, you got the right guy in Dwight Howard. That was not an easy decision between him and Emeka Okafor. This is not an easy decision. The Chris Webber trade for Penny Hart. These are not easy decisions.
No.
Aside from Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaq was probably a pretty easy
right?
one.
Yeah, that was easy.
I think, did you have a feeling it'd be Shaq?
Well, you knew when you drafted Shaq that everything was going to change
right.
immediately. He played 3 years at LSU, so you knew what you were getting. Now, as you pointed out, the Webber-Penny Hardaway thing, that was a bold move by this franchise to trade the number one pick. Danny Ainge did it, as we know, and got Jason Tatum several years back with the number 3 pick. But the Orlando Magic have had great success. They've nailed it 3 times in franchise history. Absolutely nailed the number 1 pick.
Yes, they have.
So let's hope this one is number 4.
There's always been brighter days right afterwards, haven't there been, after you make that pick? And I'm trying to look. What are those pins on his suit? He's got like studs or something on Paolo's
I have
purple
no
suit.
clue what those are.
Well, Adrian Wojnarowski went on the clock and said the Magic are expected to take Paolo Banchero.
And here go Woj again.
He just went on there, so that's the feeling that he gets. We're going to find out in about 3 minutes. I guess anything could happen.
If you believe Twitter.
Well,
you believe Twitter.
I don't know if it's Twitter. Every time Woj says something, it's a pretty good chance it kind of happens.
Pretty good chance.
Hey, Woj is, I don't know how he's that accurate, but he's pretty good.
Well, the amazing thing is he didn't even mention this possibility until about 15 minutes ago.
This is true.
So
Exactly right.
that is a tight-lipped front office
In this day and
making
age,
this decision.
that's
That's hard to do.
information age, with all the leaks, what did Jeff tell you? We've got about 60 people in our
I know.
basketball operation now. How do you keep 60 people quiet in 2022? I mean,
It would
that's
be-
very
It
impressive.
would be easier for me to get the missile launch codes from NORAD than
Yeah,
it would be to
that-
get a.
That's a good way. That's a good way to keep things buttoned up.
Let's hope
Don't tell
that doesn't-
Dante or
let's
me or
hope that
David
doesn't
anything.
happen, too.
Don't tell the
it's not
broadcasters.
gonna.
That's step one.
But you got an easier chance than prying something out of this front office. That's amazing.
That's
something,
impressive.
There's something to be said for that. So if it is Paolo Banchero, this is a guy that we're expected to be able, he's not going to come in and do it all right away. We got to remember he's 19 years old, guys, right? He's going to have ups and downs throughout his rookie year if that's where they end up going. But this is a guy, if it is Paolo, how does he make his teammates better? Sounds like he's a playmaker. He can score. He could be a go-to option eventually. He could be a great fit here in Orlando.
But I don't think he has to make his teammates better. I think he just has to play with his teammates. You know what I'm saying? He's coming in the pro system, so he should be all right if that's the guy we go with. And here we go right here. What is about to be
The
said?
pick is in, Mr. Marcatelli.
The pick is in, and we're expecting Commissioner Adam Silver to make his way to the podium here momentarily, and he's making his way now. As we look around Amway Center, this place is packed, folks. And we're going to await the official word here in just a moment.
NBA Draft. The Orlando Magic select Paolo Banchero from Duke University.
Paolo Banchero
And
is
there
the pick
goes the excitement.
to the Orlando Magic, the #1 overall pick. Here we are inside Amway Center, and the place has erupted. I would say that's a great response to Paolo Banchero. That is an amazing suit, by the way.
Yeah.
An amazing suit.
Well, he's very emotional. He's almost in tears with joy and excitement as he makes his way to the podium. You know, you put in a lot of hours, Boa. You're the only one of the four of us that can speak to this. Just how much work a young man like Paolo Banchero has put in to arrive at this moment.
He's put in a lot of work, and this is the time you say it's paying off. But now his journey just started. He put in a lot of work to get here, and now he's going to continue putting work to let him know he belongs here. Because now you have that label of being the #1 pick in the NBA draft in 2022. So now guess what he got to do? Come out and let him know why he was the #1 pick. So that's the only thing he has to deal with.
He's got a little more pressure on his shoulders than anybody else in this draft, right?
Yes, because like I say, you went to Duke, and coming out of Duke, you come out as a professional. And that's what they know. Duke puts out professionals. If you look at the guys that come from Duke, they know how to play the game. Coach K does a great job in letting them understand the game and how to play. And now he's coming to the level where he's going to be a 19-year-old kid with grown men learning how to play this game at a high level.
You know, I realize it's 2022 and it's Duke, and these guys are basically pros by the time they get there. The fact that he grew up in Seattle, Washington, and very willingly went across the country and just sort of uprooted, I know that it happens a lot more so, but it tells me something about him. He said, I'm going to find the right place, and I don't care if it's across the country. I'm going to be apart from my friends and family. I'm going to go there because it's going to be the best route to get me where I want to go.
Like you said, that guy had a goal. He did his work at home, and now he gave himself the best opportunity by going to Duke. He put in the work. Duke noticed him. He took advantage of that situation, and now he did his work at Duke, and the NBA noticed him. So, therefore, he's making the journey, like you said, across the country to get the job done to where he wants it.
And now it's not that far to get down to the Southeast here.
39 games he played, 17 points a game, 8 rebounds a game, 34% from three. And he played some great competition, ACC, right? He had some terrific competition in a year with a lot of pressure, the final season of Coach K. He's an Italian citizen, right? His father, Mario, of Italian descent.
Makes you happy.
And he played, so, all right, so, so Marcatelli, all right, I like that as well. And he's being, it's hard to believe. So he seems to be a little shell-shocked. That he's the #1 pick as he sits down.
It doesn't seem like he had any sort of an idea 24 hours ago that he was going to be the top pick, does it?
Well, let's point out that we're going to talk with him pretty soon now.
Yes, we are.
So,
yes, we are.
One of the first chances to hear from him directly will be with us.
You know, I think that he has, you look at all three of those players, in my opinion, he has the most complete game of the three guys. He comes into the NBA with a more complete skill set of NBA ability. So he's going to be very good right away. He's going to help this ball club, and he'll plug in very nicely with the other players.
I feel like he's most conducive to building an offense around early on in his career, right? Jabari, we talked about, you kind of got to get him the ball, and Chet's
he's going to develop other aspects.
Give him the ball, aren't they? I mean,
he's a great passer.
Exactly.
He sees the floor. He's a great facilitator.
Yeah.
You can give him the ball. Decision making, passing, he's got the whole package.
With the group you got, do you really got to give him the ball? He's a basketball player from Duke. At Duke, they didn't also give him the ball. He just played basketball.
Yep, that's right.
And I think that's what he's good at. He doesn't have the ball to be successful.
Kind of that one-man fast break type thing, right? Just get it and go, or just keep on moving it. And it is. It's kind of frenetic, and that plays very well in today's NBA. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. His mother was a basketball player, Rhonda Smith. Now Rhonda Smith Banchero, Sacramento Monarchs. And she was the 46th overall pick in the WNBA. His dad played football. He was a tight end at Washington. Rhonda's the all-time leading scorer in women's basketball history at Washington. So it comes from a lineage, right? He comes from a sports family, a sports background. And now, Bo, he's coming in. This situation with Jamal Mosley, right? I mean, how great is that fit for him? We're all huge Jamal Mosley fans. And now you're the #1 pick, and you've got a guy that covets development, and he's not going to put too much on Paolo right away. Probably as good a fit as there could be as far as Jamal Mosley goes, helping him grow.
Yes, he's going to help him grow because, like I said, he's going to have a lot of life and energy all day. When Banchero has those low days, that's when Coach Mosley is at his best. He's going to pick you up, lift you, positive guy, and still push you to, hey, don't worry about that day. Let's go out here and make this day better. And you're going to have a great supporting group with you because you got players that have been through the system and understand it.
Remember when Coach Mosley got here, he said he wanted to build with pace, space, in the pass.
Yeah.
And if you just go through, I'll take any five, but let's just go through the five right now off the top of my head. Markel, Jalen, Franz, Wendell, and Paolo Banchero. All of those guys can pass.
Pace.
All of those guys can create. And all of those guys can pace and space, get out and run. I mean, I think you're going to have a fun offense, but it's not going to be easy to zero in on any of those guys, right? They all are great passers and all should be able to create for each other.
When you say those names, how much do you think size and toughness, too, right?
Absolutely.
Second overall pick is in the Oklahoma City Thunder. To nobody's surprise, Chet Holmgren.
Yeah.
He is the second overall pick, which would stand to reason potentially Jabari Smith will be the third overall pick. If I'm Houston,
but I don't know.
It could be Jaden Ivey.
Yeah.
It could be Keegan Murray. To me, the draft, you would imagine it starts at 4, but they could go Jaden Ivey. They could go off the board.
We turned everything on its ear with that.
We sure did.
I mean, nobody had any idea what we were doing an hour ago.
We come in sideways. We came in sideways on that one.
I love it.
But this is not a surprise. You kind of felt like from day one that Sam Presti, Rob Hennigan, that group would covet a guy like Chet Holmgren to go there to OKC and be the go-to guy for that team.
Well, he and Giddey are going to be quite the pair. That's a couple of long, lean basketball players.
I just want to see Poku and Chet on the floor.
Poku, Chet.
Think they have protein bars at the facility there? I hope so.
But he's a super skilled player.
Fascinating prospect. Fascinating.
Fourth in the country in block shots, 3.7 a game. 39-40% from three.
Yeah.
I mean, he can shoot the three. He can handle the basketball. He grew 9 inches going from 8th to 9th grade. He was 6'2", playing alongside Jalen Suggs. They were on the same team, Minnehaha, in Minneapolis. They won state titles together at Minnehaha. Then he had that giant growth spurt. So he was a guard. He was a ball handler at heart until he had that growth spurt. That's only going to help him at the next level, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Because you got a guy that grows 9 inches. There's another guy that was similar to that, Anthony Davis, who grew about 5 or 6 inches in Chicago, and now he changed his game from being a ball handler to a stretch 4, as we say now, positionless game. They're no different than Chet, and he's going to get a little bit bigger because Anthony played a little bit of time in college. This is 1 year. Was he 19-year-old? So
and AD filled out eventually.
Yes.
The interesting thing with Chet is because – if you're going to be that tall and you're going to be able to put it on the deck, you better have that wingspan.
Yes.
And the only players whose wingspans compared to Chet's are KDs and ADs. Kevin Durant and Anthony Davis actually have 7'4", 7'5", 7'6", wingspans. If you're 7 foot, but you don't got that 7'5" wingspan, good luck getting the ball down. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, right.
you got to reach down to the ground to dribble. Like, that's kind of the way it works. So I do think he's going to be able to, but I'm not sure you're going to be able to put the ball in his hands like you can, you know, a Durant or anybody like that, or even an Anthony Davis. It's going to be, he's going to have to sort of feel his way as far as being comfortable with the ball in his hands. With that said, I think that, you know, you're talking about a potentially generational defensive player, which is the same way last year with Mobley. I mean, I loved Evan Mobley last year. These guys now, I mean, they're huge. They can move their feet on the perimeter. And a lot of these guys, Mobley and Holmgren specifically, they've got defensive instincts. I mean, they just were sort of born to play defensive NBA basketball, and that never happens, I think, with 19-year-olds. I think it's really impressive to be able to impact that early in the NBA on that end of the floor.
You know, going back to Paolo and thinking about his game, I think he's in the mold of Carmelo Anthony in his prime. You know, big, strong, can get to the basket, gets downhill, and is unstoppable when he starts going downhill.
Yeah.
LeBron, you know, you don't want to compare him to LeBron James, but you know that kind of big, strong body that can handle the basketball and just get to the basket.
I might take one a little bit further. Derek Coleman was a big guy, 6'10", who can handle the ball and shoot it, and he can score on all levels.
Heck of a player.
Yeah. And he's a little bit quicker than Derek Coleman, but they're both dribble the ball well enough to get your shot off, and that's about what you can put him, 6'10", skilled player out there on the court.
Right. You know, Fran Fraschilla,
a good one.
Carmelo Anthony was the comparison he made. Could be a Carmelo Anthony type. When he came in, was kind of a scorer like this. Added the three-point shot, became a better defender, all those things that, you know, he'll have things that he's going to have to work on, but just the ability to score from 3 levels, like kind of like
He's one of the all-time greatest.
Nothing wrong with He's a Hall of Famer.
If we get Carmelo Anthony at one, I think I'll be happy.
I'm good with that.
I think I'm good with that. But again, understanding he's not going to be that today.
No.
This is what he's got to grow into. We got to give him time.
Old.
We got to give him time to grow into it. But the response, guys, from fans online is amazing. Everybody's saying Magic did their due diligence. This is a great front office. This is the best player in the draft. I mean, everybody sees it with Paolo Banchero. He was the best player in college basketball this year. It's hard to argue.
You can't argue with the pick. You can make a case for any one of the three.
Yes, you can.
But you can certainly make a strong case for Paolo, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a lot of the comparisons I've seen have been more forwards. Guys like Julius Randle, I saw Chris Webber. I think that's almost underselling, and Webber's a great player, Hall of Famer. I think that's underselling Paolo's playmaking and his ability with the ball in his hands a little bit.
Well, Chris Webber was a good passer, though.
He was a great passer. And it was a different time, obviously. Yeah. But nobody's going to tell Paolo to get his butt down on the post. Like, Paolo is going to be playing a lot, I think, with, you know, his face to the basket and like you said, getting out and going, which is what I want to see. I want to see
let's be honest.
basketball.
When you read and you study about Paolo's game, the concerns are on the defensive end.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's where, you know, he's going to have to prove himself. And there's no reason why he can't be an elite defender.
You're 6'11", 255, and you can move your feet. You should have something to work on.
But that size, you're immediately enamored with that size, the physicality, right, Bo, that he's going to be able to play with. Doesn't that kind of give him a little bit of a head start already?
As they say, he's NBA ready. His body is NBA ready. So now all we got to get is his mind to understand how to play the NBA game so you don't overexert yourself, be in position rather than try to get to position. So if he getting to position or being in position, there's a big difference. So if he can learn to be in position and know his rotations and assignments, he's going to be fine.
And you know what's funny, too? I'll go back to the Eric Musselman article I read. They interviewed all three of them, and he broke down all three of the top prospects.
That was good piece, yeah.
When Duke played Arkansas, Muss said they just went zone and we couldn't do anything with it. And if you watch the postseason, I mean, zone defense is a huge part of the NBA right now.
Absolutely.
And so, if nothing else, I think you could at least hide him a little. If you're 6'11", you can play zone. I think that's like
but he became to David's point, he became a better rebounder. He became a little more physical towards the end of the year. And the Houston Rockets are on the clock, and Jabari Smith is the 3rd overall selection out of Auburn, and he is headed to Houston. Well, I tell you what, if you're Houston, you're thinking Jabari. You woke up today thinking Jabari's the #1 pick. He's not going to be an option for us. Maybe the best shooter in the draft just fell to you at number 3. That's a pretty good spot to be in for Houston. This is a win for all 3 of these teams here at the top of the draft.
It was going to be a win for all 3 teams, I think, Dante.
Right.
So Houston, even though they thought they were going to get Banchero, they have to be pretty pleased with the consolation prize here, if you will, of Jabari Smith Jr. You know, his father was an NBA player. Played about 5 years, played at LSU. Jabari Smith Jr., the 1 year at Auburn, just an elite. You said might be the best shooter in the draft. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
I was about to say, who shoots better than that
Well,
kid?
they say Keegan Murray is a good shooter too, but you're right. Jabari Smith, all accounts, seems to be the best shooter in the draft. No
it's
question.
pure.
What is he, 6'10"? You got 6'10", 6'10",
and a great
7 foot.
defender already.
Yes.
So they've got
Tenacious defender, right?
very, very good defensively. So, he's got some weaknesses in his overall offensive game. But once again, we keep saying it, all three of these young men are 19 years old, and they all have a lot of room to grow, a lot of room to develop. So it's, like I said, nice consolation prize for the Houston Rockets.
And that's the key right there. Like you said, they all got room to grow. The good thing is, though, Mosley is a guy who molds and grows kids. As you can see, he changed our whole team's dynamic and understanding of defensive end of the court.
Well, the Sacramento Kings are on the clock. When we come back, the draft begins. Can we say that officially? Or did we turn it on its axis with Paolo Banchero?
Well, we turned at least 1 and 3 on their axis.
Yeah.
That's what we know.
And the Sacramento Kings,
happens
Adrian Wojnarowski reporting the Kings are zeroing in on Keegan Murray as the 4th overall pick, which would be a heck of Detroit. Jake spent some time in Detroit. Can you imagine Jaden Ivey?
That's all they wanted.
Showing up in Motown.
That's all they wanted. That envelope is already in Adam Silver's hands.
We are just getting started here. It's going to be an exciting night, and we are going to hear in about a half hour or so. We're going to have Paolo Banchero, his first interview with anyone from City Beautiful, right here on this broadcast on 96.9 The Game, Magic YouTube page, and on iHeart app as well. This is the 2022 NBA Draft Show presented by Socios.com. Be more than a fan with Socios.com. Follow us at Socios USA on Twitter and Instagram. Check us out on Socios.com to learn more. We'll be back after this.
Presented by Socios.com on FM 96.9 The Game.
And we continue on with the 2022 NBA Draft Show presented by Socios.com. The Orlando Magic Youth Foundation draft auction is live until midnight. You can bid on autographed jerseys from NBA superstars and former Magic draft picks, as well as team autographed basketballs and much more. Place your bids now at orlandomagic.com/auction. just as we were returning, the 4th pick was made by the Sacramento Kings, and they took Keegan Murray out of Iowa, the talented forward, 6'8", sophomore out of Iowa, 21 years old. He'll be 22 in August. His father, Kenyon, played at Iowa with A.C. Earl for 4 years. So he comes from pedigree again. Keegan Murray played 1 year, that postgraduate year in Daytona at DME Academy.
DME, yes.
He only had one Division I scholarship offer. Then he went to DME and got the opportunity to play at Iowa. All accounts are this guy, very good shooter, nice size, could be a good fit alongside Domantas Sabonis in Sacramento.
Well, he's got size and he can shoot the basketball. You score 23 points per game in the Big Ten. You can score the basketball. That's big time league, and he's older. You know, it's interesting that that usually works against a player, but he's almost 22 years old. That's ancient by NBA draft standards.
Top draft pick.
I don't agree with that, by the way. I don't know how you feel about that, Bo, but I would not. If it were me making these decisions, age would be at the bottom of the list of things that I would consider.
33. Come on now.
So now I'm gonna go with
exactly.
you. The older, the better, they say right now. But now I'm with you. I think younger is better. But they're starting to just look at basketball players in general. If you came out as a freshman at 20, they don't care. Just whatever you are, if you're talented, they're going to find you.
Because isn't there a benefit because Keegan Murray was unranked coming out of high school. I mean, he just was not on anybody's radar. Isn't there a benefit to somebody who made something out of himself to the point where now all of a sudden he's leading the Big Ten?
You mean like a Bo Outlaw?
Yeah, absolutely. But somebody who did it in 2 years and then became the 5th pick in the draft for crying out loud.
He went back. You're penalizing these guys for going back to school, right? Because they're coming out older. This guy is the 4th pick in the draft, because, like you said, because he went back and was able to learn and show what he can do. And it was interesting. I heard an interview with his coach, and his coach put a lot on him at Iowa. And his three-point percentage, kind of took a hit at times because he was asked to do so much. But this guy could play. He could shoot the basketball at 6'8". Sacramento struggled to find the right guy. They've got some talent there, but this could be a guy that's a good fit for them.
Did Sacramento throw a curveball at Detroit and Indiana? I mean, I think everybody thought Jaden Ivey, most everybody, was going to be the 4th pick. And now what does Detroit do with number 5? Jake, what are your thoughts there, Bo?
Let's see. I didn't think Jaden would go to Sacramento because of last year's pick they had.
Davion Mitchell.
They had Davion Mitchell, and they got Fox there. So I didn't think that he would go there. Keegan Murray, that was a good fit for them because they didn't need a guard as much as Detroit needs a guard. So I think that's how that's going to play out.
I think. I mean, it seems to make a lot of sense. The thing with Jaden Ivey is he's more of a 2. Yeah. Everybody wants to compare him to John Morant. John led the country in assists when he was at Murray State, and that's not in his game. As far as
he's explosive, though.
As far as Jaden Ivey goes, but he looks a little bit like Westbrook and a little bit like offensively with the ball in his hands, like John Morant does, especially exploiting to the basket. I think next to Cade Cunningham, that is like an ideal backcourt. Now you got Cade's going to run the show, but Jaden's just going to be kind of your wild card. He's going to get out and go. And I do know, I've talked to people who watched him work out, and they said let that kid run back and forth, do baseline runs, and he's going to beat everybody in the NBA. I mean, Jaden Ivey is a blur on the floor with the ball in his hands.
From rim to rim, he is one of the fastest kids. I was watching him play at Purdue, and when that kid goes downhill, he goes downhill. Yeah. And if he turns a corner, he's capable of finishing that ball.
And that's Cade and Jaden in Detroit, that's going to play very well. They've had a couple good backcourts throughout the years there in that Pistons organization. I think probably.
Yes, they have.
I think probably they're.
You'll be surprised if it's anybody but Ivey.
I would be shocked, yeah. Absolutely.
Well, and you think they seem to be clear on the deck. They make the trade of Jeremy Grant, right? He goes over to Portland. They seem to be opening up money. They've got more money than anybody, almost $50 million. They might be heavily in play for DeAndre Ayton, so maybe you get your size.
And now if you've got Cade and Jaden, Detroit or no, people want to go play with players like that.
Right.
I mean, a lot of, if nothing else, NBA fans or college basketball, or NBA players are college basketball fans. These guys know who's got something and who doesn't, and they watch this stuff. They pay attention, and I do think DeAndre Ayton's probably more interested in Detroit now that they're getting Jaden Ivey, which, by the way, is being reported.
And let's not forget, David Steele sat right there and watched 2 feet in front of him. Sadiq Bey put up 50 points in 3 quarters. So they've
pretty
got
good player, too.
Oh, God, I forgot about that.
They've got a pretty talented player.
Thanks for reminding me of that.
We didn't want to talk about that.
Oh, man.
I think I was here that day,
But
too.
they put together a nice core. And then we are expected to hear Jaden Ivey, and if that's the case, his mom is the head coach at Notre Dame. She won a national championship as an assistant coach under Muffet McGraw her last year. She retired. She won an NCAA championship as a player, Niele Ivey.
At Notre Dame.
They beat Katie Douglas, the great Katie Douglas, and that Purdue team, coached by Carolyn Peck. So she's had she's a very good basketball player. And then his dad, Jaden Ivey, had a cup of coffee in the NFL, and his grandfather played for the Detroit Lions. So again, to your point, Bo, a lot of these guys are coming out, and their parents have kind of got some professional sports in their genes here.
Well, you look at the Magic roster, already have a lot of that currently on the roster.
That's right.
You got
Anthony,
a lot of guys that played in the NBA or played at high level of college or overseas. But that equates to a knowledgeable basketball player who's willing to learn and understands the game.
Yeah. You know, talking about how great Banchero was in the NCAA tournament, and he was the best player in the NCAA tournament. Jaden Ivey struggled in the tournament.
That's a good point.
I don't think it hurt his stock. Obviously, he's going to go top 5 in the NBA, but again, you can't put a lot of stock in it. However, when you see a guy do it, then you know that it's something special, what Banchero was able to do.
That's why I take all those St. Peter's guys. Didn't they fall to St. Peter's in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, they did.
He struggled in that last game, but
I don't think any of those guys are going tonight.
I'm holding out hope.
To watch, though.
But how about Jaden Ivey? For the first time in Purdue basketball history, they were number 1 this year. They had the number 1 spot. That had never happened in the history of Purdue basketball. They started 8-0, and that's because of this guy, Jaden Ivey.
Hey, and they had a pretty good player that one year. I know. If y'all know a dude named Glenn Robinson.
Yes,
he was pretty good. So if he didn't get them to number 1, because that guy could get you a bucket.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And we battled him in the playoffs, and we know how.
It's been a while.
Okay. Hey, thanks everybody for coming. Great day for the Orlando Magic. We're super excited about adding a foundational piece to our organization, and we'll answer all questions. I did want to say something before we began. I know there's a lot being made right now that Paolo didn't come in to visit. I just want to let everybody know that we've had several touch points with Paolo in live meetings, Zooms, and Paolo's been very forthcoming in submitting to all of our protocols, from medical to personality profiles and anything else that we've asked for. And guys, there's a lot of strategy that goes into the draft. You know, there's a lot of secret keeping, there's a lot of misdirection. Paolo has always expressed a great interest in us, and he's had talked with us at length, myself, Coach Mosley, and various staff members. And so we were super comfortable with the process, and most importantly, thrilled to have him on the team. We feel he's incredibly versatile at 6'10", 250, skill, IQ, multi-positional aspects at both ends of the floor. And I want to say this because I think this is one of the underreported things about Paolo, because of his kind of precocious build, that he doesn't have places to grow. And we just feel like this is a 19-year-old who has so much growth potential. We feel he was the best player in college basketball, and we feel that he will continue to grow every year for many years to come. He's a hard worker. He's incredibly talented, and we are just thrilled to add him to our team.
Okay, at this point, we'll open it up for questions. If you could please wait for a microphone and state your name and affiliation. And just to note, I do have to get Mr. Weltman and Mr. Mosley back to work, so as quickly as start with Kobe Price here in the front row.
Thank you. Kobe Price, Orlando Sentinel. Jeff, Jamal, either one, you can answer this one, both you can. When exactly did you guys know that Paolo was going to be the guy that you wanted to pick? Or what happened or was said that made you guys know that Paolo was the guy that you wanted?
Kobe, there's no specific when. You know, these things go over months. I mean, we start tracking these guys, you know, before they even get to college, and we bring in all the information to bear. We meet for weeks and months endlessly. You know, we were here till, you know, midnight last night, and you know, these conversations are ongoing. So there's not a point. Obviously, at some point, I have to go back and weigh all the thoughts and informations, but our staff does an amazing job of thoroughly investigating every possible corner of the player and how the player will affect our team. And then obviously Coach Mosley and I have had several conversations about how this player would impact our team.
Coach Dan Savage, OrlandoMagic.com. Obviously, you know, Paolo brings tremendous gifts offensively, tremendous size defensively. Just how much, with his flexibility and versatility, are those traits exciting as a head coach to coach a player like that?
No, it's beyond exciting, and I think that's the one thing we've constantly talked about is the versatility and the ability to play, you know, both sides of the ball, guard multiple positions, but also be a great playmaker, decision maker, and he's a giver and a distributor, and that's going to, you know, be a great addition to our team.
Darren Stoltz for Swesh 2. Jeff, just to clarify first, sounds like you're happy to have him. You're not trying to trade Paolo.
Right.
Second, just what is to be gained with the secret keeping? You have the #1 overall pick. You have who you wanted. Why the cloak and dagger? What's to be gained?
You never know what's going to come up. You know, you never know what other teams are trying to do behind you. I can tell you that we've had conversations with every team, including those right behind us. And I could kind of flip the question and say, what's to be gained, you know? So to me, I think it's the best way to do business. I think that it's important that people know that information is managed discreetly with us from every corner of this business, from agents to other teams to the media. And obviously, I don't know, you know, when you're playing poker, you don't put your cards on the table, right? So I think that's our take. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jeff, you said earlier in the week that you didn't want to put the pressure of being a franchise player or a star on a draft pick. Well, out there after he was announced, it looked like the fans think he's going to be a franchise player and a star. What do you say to them about
I say that we have the best fans in the NBA, Mike, and I'm so thrilled that they're thrilled, and I think that they should be. I think that, you know, our team got a lot better tonight, and I'm really excited about the direction of our team. I again say, you know, Paolo hasn't played 1 minute in this league yet, and everything that he gets, he's going to have to earn. And obviously, he has a tremendous future in front of him. And as Coach was saying, what most excites us about him is the best feature that he brings is he makes it easier for other guys to play. I won't get into prognosticating, you know, his place in the Magic, you know, lexicon when he's all done and hanging him up. But we're really excited about him, and with work and with dedication and with focus and his ability, I think special things can happen.
Hey, Jeff, Tim Reynolds with the Associated Press.
Hey, Tim.
We sat in here Monday, and, I mean, again, it's been known for months. Whichever way you went, you had 3 really good options.
Yeah.
Without dissecting A versus B versus C, was there one specific thing where you really just thought, was it a collective, or was it one specific area where you said Paolo is more NBA ready, more Magic ready than any other candidate we're looking at because of this? Was there one specific thing that made him stand out?
You know, Tim, I would say the thing about Paolo is there is no one thing, and that's kind of like the thing about Paolo is that there is one thing, because at 6'10", 250 with guard skills and an IQ and an ability to score and distribute and move his feet in a way that, you know, only like wings and guards can do, really. There's just he's just such a multi-positional player, and he so fits today's modern NBA. I'll let Coach Mosley speak more to that. But that's one of the things that the league is looking for, right? Is just how do you guard this guy 5 positionally? How can he guard 5 positionally? And you just don't find these guys very often. They're not really out there. And when you say like the most NBA ready, I I agree. I think that when you look at his body and when you look at the skill set and the IQ, obviously he's going to have a lot to learn and a lot to work on. But when you look at all that, you say NBA ready. But I think what gets lost in that sometime is the incredible growth that he has as well, because he's 19 years old and he's gonna get better in a whole lot of areas. And I really, to me, just entrust him to our coaching staff, the guy sitting next to me, our performance staff, and all the people in our organization to surround him with excellence and provide him with everything he's going to need to become a great player.
Jamal, while we still have it, and Jeff said that he wanted you to elaborate too.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we see the smile right now. We saw it when you walked in. It was a large smile. Let's be honest.
Well, that's the thing. And
off the top of your head, how excited are you already to draw stuff up? For this kid?
From the moment we got the number one pick, you talk about the excitement for the fans, for the organization, for our group in that locker room. It's very and extremely excited for all of them, but just as much as for this young man who gets this opportunity to help be part of a foundation that's being built here. And what Jeff talked about is those attributes he carries are what is going to help us continue to grow and keep laying that foundation. And we talk about not skipping steps and those things, and he is going to be part of that, a big part of that with our guys, and he's going to blend and fit right in. And it's about doing the work, and he's a worker. So that's the one thing that continues to stand out.
Jeff, you mentioned that you felt Paolo was the best player in college basketball last year. With these prospects at the top being so even, it seemed like Paolo, when the lights were the brightest and the stage was the biggest in the NCAA tournament, he was playing his best basketball. How much did that factor in the decision, like that he played for a winning program that went deep into the NCAA tournament, and he was leading Duke from out front, as their main player?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, we pay a lot of attention to that. Guys are different in November than March. We always say by March you're a sophomore. And so to watch his trajectory and watch him really from the middle of the season begin to kind of plateau, peak rather, and then find that he was playing his best ball when it most mattered, that matters. That matters. And we do feel that as he grows and his body evolves, that he's going to be one of those guys who's kind of built for playoff basketball. He's going to be, you're not going to be able to play him off the court. He's going to be able to elevate his game, and he's going to play both sides of the floor, and he's going to have to work. He's going to have to get here and work, and he's going to have to earn what he gets. But it's just really difficult to find guys who are that size, with that skill set, who can be so versatile, and the intersection of all those things is just very uncommon. You don't get to add guys like that to your team very often. And what they do is they make the game easier for others. And that's the real value of a guy like Paolo.
Okay, final question, Dan Savage.
Jeff, Dan Savage, OrlandoMagic.com. When you look at the Duke kids, including Paolo, they had to play the whole season with the pressure that it was Coach K's final season and everything that comes along with that. With his ability to handle that and not only perform, but perform extremely well, does that give you confidence that he can handle the pressure that may come along with being a number one overall pick?
That's a great question, Dan, and we actually did have that conversation. I mean, the number one pick, right? So with that, comes an expectation level, and the most important part of that is working to live up to it. And we are confident that Paolo will do that, but I do think it's a great point. I can't imagine too many pressure-packed seasons greater than the one of playing for Duke in Coach K's last season. I mean, we all know what that looked like. And something like that last home game when all the celebrities were at Cameron, and just the amount of pressure that kind of brought about for these college kids. So, look, the NBA is a different animal. The length of the season, the caliber of player, it's a different world. It's a different season. Paolo enters a rookie, but he's been through a lot already. He's been high in his draft class, of number one by some ratings since he was a kid, and he's carried that well. He's lived up to it at every stop, and I think he lived up to it last year. And we have every confidence that he's going to work and pour himself into our organization as we will pour ourselves into him, and live up to that.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Again, we will get Paolo from
Plus, right?
Throwback physical guys,
You
right?
but they're throwback physical guys that can move and can shoot. Wendell's extended his range all the way to the three-point line. So these guys can spread the court, but they also big enough to go down and bang and get you some boards that you need.
Let's get everybody caught up. The first overall pick, of course, Paolo Banchero out of Duke. We're going to hear from Paolo within 10 minutes, so we're excited about that. Right about 9 o'clock, about the time we're going to hear from Devin Kennedy as well. So we might have those two teammates introduce themselves to each other. Chet Holmgren was the second overall pick. He goes to OKC. Jabari Smith out of Auburn to Houston. Keegan Murray out of Iowa goes to Sacramento. The Detroit Pistons are elated. They get Jaden Ivey. Didn't think he'd fall, but he falls to them at 5. Benedict Mathurin out of Arizona goes to Indiana. And Shaedon Sharp, who we don't know anything about, didn't play last year. Last time we saw him play was in high school. The kid from Kentucky took the scholarship and decided not to play to get ready for the draft. Very interesting story, so bizarre.
That's a little strange.
Isn't it strange? Would you have some red flags maybe?
Don't you love to play basketball?
I don't know, because guess who told me about this kid, Shaedon Sharp? My son. He's like, Shaedon Sharp. I'm like, who? I said, that kid didn't even play at Kentucky. I didn't know who he was.
He didn't play, and he didn't go to play in the combine. Like, you can't hide forever. Like, at some point you got to play. But he parlayed it into the 7th overall pick to
Apparently
Portland.
you can hide forever.
Apparently that's pretty good.
Just drops you out of the top 3.
How about this? Then we'll duck in a break and come back and hear from Paolo Banchero. David will get a kick out of this from President of Basketball Operations Jeff Weltman on why keeping things close to the vest, why the secrecy. When you're playing poker, you don't put all your cards on the table, right, for everybody to see?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there you go. So obviously fully understanding that there's something to be said about the secrecy, because it kind of, until 15 minutes before the pick was made, everybody had Jabari Smith going to Orlando.
Amazing, really. To keep that quiet
mind-blowing.
that
That's
long
impressive.
in today's media.
I would say
incredible.
social world.
Yeah.
And I also think, and even just aside from smokescreen and silly season and all that stuff, you can gain more information. I mean, every second until you are due the pick, you should be learning. You should be asking questions. You should be casting that wide a net. Think about last year. Everybody knew it was going to be Cade Cunningham. You could redraft that draft. Detroit might think twice about it.
Yeah, true.
I mean, the way Scotty Barnes played, the way Evan
that's a
Mobley
good point.
played last year, I think every second that you have until the paper is due, as Jeff put it on Monday, you better utilize it. You better be proofreading and going through all your footnotes and everything.
So I got a question. You just said Cade Cunningham. What position does he play for Detroit?
Yeah.
Right now, he's
Ball
there.
handler.
So therefore, if you just brought in Jaden Ivey, now where's Cade Cunningham?
I think it's the same. I think Jaden's more of an off guard.
You think so?
I think the ball is in Cade's hands, and you let Jaden be like a secondary playmaker.
Out of them two, I think he would be more of a one than Cade, but they're both scoring guards to me.
Yeah, see, I think Cade's a better creator, table setter.
You're gonna
both
score.
You're going to see some John Morant.
They like shooting the ball.
Yeah.
They like shooting the ball.
You're going to see some John Morant
Sadiq
type
Bey ain't scared either.
Yeah, he's not,
That's
not
Dante-
afraid.
As Dante reminded us.
Yeah, to put it up, and don't forget about Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah,
Now he
Beef-
doesn't
yeah,
have to
Beef
play the
Stew?
5.
No,
he can
yeah.
go back to 4 if they get DeAndre Ayton.
be
If they end up
bullying
bringing
people.
somebody like that in. Now that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem for
That's
most
a big,
fours.
That's a big four.
Dyson Daniels, the Australian-born Dyson Daniels, is off the board, and he is going to the New Orleans Pelicans. That is a terrific pickup. He's got a great pedigree as well. We're going to duck a break. When we come back, we're going to hope to have Paolo Banchero here in the next 5 to 10 minutes, his first Orlando interview, and it'll come your way right here on 96.9 The Game. This is the 2022 NBA Draft Show presented by Socios.com.
All right, we're clear. Not yet. Mike's hot now.
Presented by Socios.com on 96.9 The Game.
Oh, it's so great to have you with us. The 2022 NBA Draft Show presented by Socios.com. You can be more than a fan with Socios.com. Follow us at Socios USA on Twitter and Instagram. Check out Socios.com to learn more. And we're going to get a visit from Devin Kennedy here at some point. We're also going to hear from Paolo Banchero here in just a matter of moments. And guys, I can't imagine if he was caught off guard as much as everybody else, right? Can't you wait to hear what the kind of these last couple of hours have been like for the young fella?
That is really going to be interesting because it did look like on the big screen here in the Amway Center that he might have been a little surprised to be the number 1 pick.
Right,
but we'll find out, and he's got to be thrilled. I mean, what kid doesn't grow up who plays basketball that doesn't want to be the number 1 pick in the NBA draft? I mean, that's got to be the absolute best dream come true.
I want to know the latest, the closest to being selected number 1 that anybody has ever found out.
That's
right?
a good point.
Right? And was it this year with Paolo Banchero? And I'm sure we won't get a full
you think Cunningham knew last year, right?
I think Cade knew in January last year that he was going to be the top pick, and it was just sort of crossing the T's and dotting the I's.
Well, the interesting thing with Paolo is that he's been like number 3 for how long?
Right.
Forever.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
that's true. That's true.
On
Very
all
good.
of the experts' draft boards.
And I think a lot of us assumed based on the season that he would get vaulted a little bit, but that wasn't the case. And part of it, I think, was the fit. I think a lot of people drew the line between Chet and our organization because of his relationship with Jalen Suggs, obviously.
Well, you know, Jalen's dad coached Chet, too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
as a young
in
kid
some of these
coming
profiles
up.
that we're reading now, I mean, I don't think I knew that their relationship. I knew he coached
was really
them,
close.
but they were very, very close.
Yeah.
And when I talked with some of the guys in the podcast about Chet and asked about his relationship with Jalen, like they weren't just teammates, like they're friends, like they're really tight. But that's, as we know, that's not a reason.
That's not why you draft a guy.
To draft somebody. And in these days, there's ties everywhere you look, as far as these prospects go. But just the amount of questions and the fact that nobody had an idea. And last night I went to bed and then I wake up. It's weird.
Right.
Isn't it weird now how Vegas knows everything?
How is that possible?
The life of a Vegas odds maker, and you got to be right.
But now
job.
those are our sources. Now I wake up this morning and I'm supposed to believe, and
I
of
know.
course they were right, but I'm supposed to believe that Paolo's the pick just because the odds have shifted. And I'm like, I don't even understand what these numbers mean next to their names. But that's been a bit of a shift. But I mean, boy, until yesterday, I don't think anybody thought it was going to be Paolo Banchero. I mean, I think everybody thought it was a two-man race between the other two.
It's got to be one of the biggest surprises in NBA number 1 pick draft history, doesn't it? That just came out of nowhere.
Sure. And yeah, so what's
you go back.
What are the last 24
You go back
hours like
a couple
for him?
months, and it could have been him, and it could have been any one of them. But it just seemed like everything we read, it was even when Woj comes out and says it's getting firm that Jabari Smith is going to be the number 1 pick, you don't think anything but that.
Yeah.
And then
What was that based on?
I have no idea. idea.
I think
He's
it was
not
based
wrong.
on groupthink. I think everybody around the league was just sure that it was going to be Jabari, and that's basically what happened.
Which, to their point, it's all buttoned up. If they didn't let that out, and people at that point, it's just conjecture. People are just guessing, and that's kind of the name that they threw out.
It's a lesson learned for
totally.
Some of the so-called
because
experts.
It could have been a lot of people might have created that as wishful thinking, just because they didn't want us to be linked with Paolo because they wanted to get their hands on
well,
Paolo
that could be part of it too. The last 2 picks are off the board. New Orleans, as we mentioned, Dyson Daniels, and Dyson Daniels, very talented player out of Australia, and he shot up the rankings. If you look at what he did in all of his workouts, very good prospect. His dad, an Australian legend, played for the Bendigo Braves, MVP 99 and 2000. His number is retired
big Braves fan.
by Bendigo. I can't tell you how many Bendigo games I've watched over the
really
years.
Good. Their logo.
Like their logo. No question. He was a teammate of Oklahoma City Thunder guard Josh Giddey.
Keep it on the road,
So he came pretty. He played pretty well. Then you have
between the lines.
Yeah, keep it between the lines. Then you have Jeremy Sohan. Who goes here number 9 to San Antonio.
The most San Antonio player in the draft.
That's a great way to put it.
Yep.
That's a very good way to put it.
I could have told you 2 months ago Jeremy Sohan would end up at San Antonio.
A high school teammate of Jaden Ivey.
Perfect.
He played with Jaden Ivey, which is very interesting. Yeah. So again, another prospect, Jeremy Sohan, played at that La Lumiere up there in Indiana. That's one of the best teams in the nation, and they were there together, 22-5. He and Jaden Ivey, very
he's
good
from
team.
England, isn't he? Wasn't he born in England?
Yeah, and he's on the Polish national team. His mother is from Poland, so he kind of has that.
He's got a lot of playmaking.
Our guy's
ability,
on the
right?
our guy can play on the Italian national team. Is that right? I mean,
That's
he's
exactly right. He's an Italian citizen.
Exciting.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
And he
Dad
can
Mario,
he can tell me where
tight end at the University of Washington.
Yes, that's
Paolo
right.
Banchero.
And he can tell me where to go when I go over there.
Yeah, I want to be.
Can
I get the gig like the Italian national team broadcaster role or something like that? Anybody get me over there? I'm going to try to finagle that.
It's a little harder to keep it between the lines in Italy than it is here.
Yes, I've heard.
It's
the
crazy.
other side of the road.
Yeah, it's the wrong side of the road.
Yeah.
Keep it between the lines. That's. Are we hearing that Johnny Davis will be the next pick? So Johnny Davis, again, another fantastic prospect coming out of Wisconsin, will go to the Washington Wizards. Pat Delaney, some former assistants are there. We don't know if Bradley Beal's going to opt out, try to go to another team, so they'd be rebuilding. Johnny Davis, a scorer out of Wisconsin, could be heading to the Washington Wizards, and it could almost be Bradley Beal-esque.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this guy Johnny Davis is very intriguing as well.
There are a lot of trade rumors around. It'll be interesting to see how many are actually executed tonight. But Washington is one of those teams. You look at their roster, they've got the Beal situation continues to be an interesting situation for Washington, and they have to keep Bradley Beal, right? I mean, they cannot let
do
Bradley
everything
Beal
they
get
can.
away.
It's funny because there were rumors that they were going to go after a veteran guard, right?
Yeah.
I think
Right.
you heard Brogdon tied to them, Monty Morris. Johnny Davis feels like a veteran guard. Like, I think Johnny Davis is going to come in and maybe be able to help out right away. I'm not sure if it's enough to try to keep Bradley Beal. And if you listen to what Bradley Beal's saying, I mean, it sounds like he's already got one foot out.
That's
the
what
door.
it sounds like. And he's not been that guy. He's been committed for years. Johnny Davis, his dad, Mark, again, 13 seasons professionally. He played 33 games in the NBA with Milwaukee and Phoenix. He played in college with Mark West.
Mark Davis.
Yeah, Mark Davis, a little cup of coffee in the NBA. So, again, he comes from that pedigree, but this is a scorer, 19.7 points per game. And, he was the finalist for the Lute Olson National Player of the Year and won the Jerry West Shooting Guard of the Year. So, I mean, those are pretty good names.
Sophomore, right? Played
Yep,
2
sophomore.
years of college basketball in a great conference. And can rebound the basketball, too, from that guard position.
Hey, can we get some love to the Big Ten? Look at all these guys.
How about that? You got a lot of these guys coming in.
It's a tough year to be a Buckeye fan.
And again, we're certainly awaiting at any moment. We're going to hear from Paolo Banchero. So all of you that are watching here online, we want you to hang in there. We're going to get Paolo here momentarily. And again, we're hoping to hear from Devin Kennedy here momentarily. And Devin's a guy he's going to have an opportunity. Everybody's going to have an opportunity on this Magic team. It's a big summer. It's a big offseason. What does Franz Wagner look like going into year 2? What does Jalen Suggs look like going into year 2? I mean, there's a lot of reasons to be excited about the step forward that this Magic team could take this year.
I kind of feel like we have a roster that sort of has like a hole in the middle, and we just filled it. Like, it feels like we needed an offensive centerpiece, and I think we got him. I mean, I think we got a guy that we can say, hey, at the end of games, hey, here's the rock. Create something for us.
Right.
I'm not sure the other two guys were necessarily in that mold, and that's not to take anything away from the prospects that they are, but we've got a lot of very complementary pieces, I feel like, for Paolo Banchero. I think it's going to look really good really early.
Can you go small with him at the 5?
Yes.
Right? 6'10",
Sure.
right? So
In
now
today's
you can,
NBA.
In today's, think about how versatile
he's probably
that
still
becomes,
growing
right?
for crying out loud.
He might still grow.
Might be.
And he's
7'1" wingspan. He's got great length, great size, great strength. Again, a guy that is the most complete guy coming into the NBA in this draft. So he's ready to go. Now, again, he's going to make some mistakes early on.
Sure.
And, I don't know if you're going to put the ball. You probably, in this situation, he probably is going to get opportunities to have the ball in his hands late because it is a young ball club.
Sure.
And you're still developing all these young players and trying to figure out how it all fits together.
They
So
won't give
he's
him
gonna
too
get
much too
opportunity.
soon. They'll make sure they bring him along slowly,
Right.
and we're not going to heap the entire expectations of the franchise and the city upon him right away. But he's an offensive player with a whole bunch of capability, and I think that's really exciting. Oh, who's this? Who we got
Speaking of
here?
really exciting, how about this? Kind enough to come
Speaking
out
of
and
shooting
join
the
us.
rock.
Let's go.
Here on the broadcast, right? Devin Kennedy.
Let's have a day.
Kind enough to join us alongside David Steele and Jake Chapman. Dev, great to see you. Thanks for coming out. I want to get all caught up on your summer, what the year looks like. But first, your thoughts, your reaction to the big fella, Paolo Banchero, joining your team.
First off, thanks for having me, guys.
This is
for
great.
being here. I'm sitting next to some legends right now.
That's awesome. No, we are. We're sitting next to the legend.
We appreciate you being here.
I think today is a great day for Orlando Magic basketball, for the fan base, the organization. I was a little surprised. I think everyone had Jabari going first, but Paolo is a very talented guy. I think we all should be happy to have him and excited to see the energy he brings. And I think, like Coach Mosley talks about, we want to run, play with pace, defend. So, Paolo, welcome to the team. And those are the things that we're going to pride ourselves on this year. So excited to have him.
Did you watch a lot of college basketball this past year? I know, you're busy with your game here in Orlando and in the G League, but did you have a chance to watch him play much?
Well, the only time I really got to see him play was during the tournament.
Right.
Obviously, I watched a lot of the tournament in March.
He was pretty good.
I heard and I saw. So, I'm very excited. I think it's a great pick. And it's a good time for Magic basketball, like I said. A lot of good things to look forward to this season.
Well, we're going to hear from him here momentarily. He's going to join our broadcast, so you'll get a chance to talk to your new teammate here in about a couple of minutes.
Oh, awesome.
He's going to jump on the broadcast, so we'll have some fun with that. But just from his game, assuming he can do similar things that he did in college, his ability to pass, his ability to defend, how much does him as a playmaker, as just a basketball player, how much does he help this roster and all of you guys?
A tremendous amount. I think the first thing I'd like to, tell him and getting a chance to talk to him right now tonight on a big night for him is awesome. From a guy like me being undrafted in 2019 during my draft, I remember watching pick 1 through 60 and realizing the moment I went undrafted. So it's a dichotomy right here. He's the number 1 pick. He knew where he was going early.
That's right.
But I think the biggest thing is, being the number 1 pick, play with stress-free. I think, we have guys in this organization that can lighten the load for him, and I think a guy like him can lighten the load for us. So, yeah, it's exciting.
I love that.
Devin, you mentioned being surprised. I mean, I would think you guys, you got to have group chats. I would think if anybody knows who's going to go number 1 overall, it would be the other 450 players in the NBA. The Magic organization did a pretty damn good job of keeping everything under wraps, did they not?
They don't tell us anything.
That makes us feel better. That makes us feel better.
No, that's great. No, we just come in today. No, we had a great day in the gym. The group of guys that came in to get working, and we trust the whole organization. We play our roles and we trust each other. So, like I said, it's a great pick, a great day to be part of Magic basketball.
It was about 2 or 3 days ago, Dev. We were here, and Jeff Weltman was doing a press conference, and you could hear people laughing, screaming in the gym. You could hear there seems to be an energy about your group right now, right? Tell us about what this summer has been like and why you guys are so excited and why you've been working so much here.
If there was laughing and screaming, it probably came from me. That's one thing I do. I love bringing energy, but this whole group feeds off of each other's energy. It starts with Coach Mosley. It trickles its way down through the coaching staff, the players. We're hungry. We're hungry. We look at the record last year. I don't think it defines this group specifically. And we're just coming here with a mindset to work and ultimately to win. So, and you can feel it here early in the summer.
Who all is in? Who's in working right now with you guys here? I know guys are in and out, but give us some idea of who you've been seeing, who you've been working out with.
I mean, everyone, again, is on their own kind of schedule. Guys like myself, the Wagner brothers who live here, guys who live in the area, they're in. If you have a home here, you're pretty much in the gym, minus a few people just based on their own summer plans. But for the most part, I think everyone who is going under contract or even potentially maybe under contract next year, they're in. So guys are working, and it's fun. It's a really good energy.
You mentioned the dichotomy, your draft experience versus Paolo's. What will you tell him about the organization, about just sort of trying to ease the burden a little bit? Because I got to imagine, being a top pick, there's a whole lot of expectations, a whole lot of noise that people like us create for him.
Right.
What kind of advice are you going to give him?
Well, on draft night, it's actually hanging, it's a pinned tweet on my Twitter. I talked about run your own race. It's my philosophy. It's how I feel like found success along my journey, being an undrafted guy out of an Ivy League school. And so I think coming from Duke, being a number 1 pick, I mean, Paolo's running his race. And so that's one thing when I see him in the locker room, out in Vegas this summer, run your race, man. Don't focus on the Chets, the Jabaris, the Dwight Howards, the Shaqs. Be you.
That's right.
Be you.
Very good.
So
that's a pretty strong legacy that he's following in this organization. Number 1 picks in franchise history. You just mentioned it. Shaq, what wound up being Penny, Dwight Howard, and now Paolo Banchero. That's a lot of weight to carry.
It's a lot of weight to carry. I say don't carry it. That's not your burden to carry. You just come here, show up every day with a mindset of just getting better. We talk about 1% better every day. In 10 years, 15 years, hopefully you have a legacy like those guys.
Yeah, good point.
Dude, I need affirmations from Devin Kennedy every
And
morning.
I love that dichotomy is such a Princeton word, too, isn't it? I mean, that's such a great word.
He's a great follower on Twitter.
Yes, he is.
There's a lot of inspirational stuff.
Well, he's a great story, and it's so easy to root for Devin Kennedy because I go back to I had the opportunity to do a lot of the Lakeland games this year, and the goal is to be in the NBA. This is where you were. This is your rehab, and you want to be back here. But this guy embraced every step of the process, playing in the G League, playing in Lakeland. He was the MVP of the championship game and all that. But the goal is to be here, and he made it. And he made it back here. How much did you? It wasn't always easy. Your road to get here, but you embraced it. You did it with a smile the whole way.
Injury,
and
too,
you
2
deserve
years
this.
ago.
That's what I mean. To come back from all that.
Jeez, yeah. No, I mean that's the I think Kobe talked about it in his interviews, and I watch a lot of that Mamba mentality from Kobe. Rest in peace. But he talks about the journey is the reward, and so when I'm looking down at the court right now, and God, I wish I wasn't injured. I wish I was able to finish that year. Had a whole season in the NBA this past year. I look at my resume, and it says 12 games. But I feel like I'm so much more mature. I feel like a veteran through my experiences, and that experience has taken me, like I said, being undrafted, it's taken me through multiple years of the G League bubble.
Yep, right.
Winning a championship.
That's right.
And
you went through a lot. And you played for a Steve Clifford head coach team, and you played for a Jamal Mosley team.
That's right.
So those were different dynamics, too.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. 100%. So like
both
I said,
outstanding coaches. So I'm sure there were lessons learned from both of those men and their staffs.
I've taken lessons from those guys, Stan Heath, Joe Bear in the G League, Sean Fine in Long Island my first year. And I'm taking these pieces. Like I said, I play for now 5 head coaches in 3 professional seasons. So I'm taking pieces like this. I'm bringing my energy and not losing who I am, but hopefully just bringing guys along with me, and hopefully they appreciate what I have to say and the experience that I come with.
Yeah, you had the great last game of the year against Miami with those 15 points. You shot 41% from 3 this year. He's in range, David, sitting where he's at right now, right up here in this chair.
It's a sweet shot. We talked about Jabari Smith. This guy's got a pretty pure three-point stroke.
So what's next? We know you can shoot it. We know you walk into a gym and you're instantly in range. Yeah. So what do you work? You continue to fine-tune that? What else are you trying to add to your game?
I have taken so many contested shots. Yesterday in the practice facility, they had 6 guys contesting me from about 35, 40 feet. I will say I made a lot of shots.
I love that. I love hearing that.
Despite that, but I'm trying to really make that my bread and butter. When I come in the game, everyone expects when the ball goes up, it goes in. But I'm working on my body, obviously continue to strengthen my ankle, my legs, my core, so I can start showing elements of my game that I had prior to my injury, which is being a facilitator, getting to the rim, and making decisions. And like I said, bringing that spark and that energy.
I thought Jeff Van Gundy made an interesting comment about Steph Curry in the NBA Finals. Obviously one of the great scorers and shooters of all time in NBA history. And when he started his NBA career, not a great defender, but he continues to work at it and really wants to be good. He works hard at that part of the game. And now, after all of these years, he's a pretty effective defender in the NBA. Where do you see your defensive game going? How do you want to get where you want to be defensively?
It's funny you bring up Stephen Curry on the defensive end because I'm watching the finals. Obviously, everyone's watching the finals.
He just fights. He works. He's a physical, feisty defender.
And I'm looking at Stephen Curry like, let me learn and figure out how he's able to defend. And first and foremost, Steph is so much stronger than people give him credit for. Everyone remembers the Steph that came into the league. Oh, he's scrawny, he's too little. Steph is strong. And so when I say my body is my top priority this summer, it's my nutrition, it's my sleep, it's being in the weight room so that I can defend like a Steph and then go make shots like Steph. So that's my goal this summer.
But it's an interesting point, too, because another guy that we watched who turned himself into a pretty good defender by the time all was said and done is J.J. Redick. And it's so much of defending at this level is between your ears. You can anticipate where the screen's coming from. You can turn yourself into a pretty darn good defensive player just by knowing where the sets are coming from, where the screen's coming from, talking, communication. A lot of it it's just mental, isn't it?
It's 100%. Yeah, exactly.
You know, we feel Jeff and I, we talk about you a lot off the air, on the air, when you're playing with the Magic. We're excited about the possibilities that you have as an NBA player because, JT talks about it a lot. Is there a Seth Curry type of player in Devin Kennedy? Is there a guy that, just continues to work and can become that kind of guy that can just be a knockdown three-point shooter, fight you on defense, and be a good, solid rotation guy on a good NBA team?
I do not see why not.
Yeah.
I look at Seth, and his journey, came through the G League.
That's right.
And I think it came through Orlando at one point or
It
another.
did. One point very early, yeah.
We can go bring a side-by-side picture of Seth in the Orlando Magic number 30 jersey. And now we have a number 30 in
I
myself.
like that.
So,
very good comparison.
me,
David, there you go.
I find these things, and I use them as motivation. I hang them up on a little vision
So you've
board.
thought about the Seth Curry comparison?
100%. 100%. See, you're ahead of the game.
We're on the same wavelength.
He's on this. And you know what? He's got a little fight to him. I remember that game in Charlotte. You didn't back down.
Yeah.
He's feisty, right? You got a little fight to your game too.
Yeah, I remember Pascal Siakam thought he had a mismatch on me here, and I fight. I mean, I may get beat, but I'm gonna get beat trying. So I think that's the biggest thing.
What can you tell us about what's happening in the gym? We don't get to see it. We don't see what Franz looks like now in year 2. We don't see Markel running up and down. Wendell is a grown man.
We got Paolo.
Right, and so all that.
Not the best connection, but
we'll jump back into that here in a second. But right now, we're going to table that. We're here with Devin Kennedy, David Steele, and Jake Chapman. And from what I understand, it's my pleasure to welcome in the newest member of the Orlando Magic, Paolo Banchero, joining us right now. Paolo, how are you, sir?
Man, I'm great. Still taking it all in, but, I can't be more excited to be a part of Orlando Magic.
Well, we're excited to have you, Paolo, and you got a teammate of yours sitting next to me in Devin Kennedy. He'll talk to you in just a second, but just give us your thoughts. Congrats on being the number 1 overall pick. We're fired up to have you here in Orlando. What was going through your mind as you heard your name called and your dream realized here tonight, Paolo?
Oh man, I really just couldn't believe, it was kind of a tense, 5 minutes. Just my agent telling me just to be ready. He wasn't sure. And then about 20, 30 seconds before the commissioner came to announce the pick, he looked at me and said, congratulations. And then before I even got a chance to, realize what he had just said, I was hearing my name and just got hit with emotions. So it was a great moment, a moment I'll never forget. And man, it was the one that, will go down as one of the finest moments of my life for sure.
Paolo, this is David Steele, television play-by-play for the Magic. I look forward to watching you play. I can't wait to get you aboard here. I wanted to ask you about the emotion that clearly you had. You were wiping back tears, very emotional. Just what goes into that? I mean, all the years that you've worked to get where you are as an NBA player now, tell us about what that feeling was like emotionally for you.
Man, it was one I'd never felt before. I've never in my life cried tears of joy. Like, that's never happened to me. And people, were asking me, oh, you get picked, are you going to cry? And I was like, man, no, I'm not going to cry, no matter what pick it is. So, and as soon as I got picked, it literally just started flowing out. I couldn't even stop it. Like I said, it was probably the best moment of my life. And it's an inexplainable feeling, honestly.
Hey, Paolo, Jake Chapman here with you. I'm the radio play-by-play voice. How excited are you to get down here and get started? Is it just kind of like, let's get all this out of the way, I want to get in the gym and start working with my new teammates and coaching staff? And what kind of a player should Magic fans be expecting?
Yeah, no, man, I'm ready to get to work. Pre-draft has been a great process, but the one-on-one workouts are definitely get going. I'm ready to compete, start playing 5-on-5 again. And get comfortable with a group of guys. So, that's my mindset. And what was that second part?
What kind of guy are we getting? What kind of player is the Orlando Magic organization getting in Paolo Banchero?
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. I think for sure a winner. I think I've won at every stage. And I bring a winning mindset, a winning attitude. I'm a team-first player and never going to put myself above the team before the team. Just a dog, a versatile player with a dog mentality, a come in, be competitive, be tough, just exert 110%. And so I'm excited and can't wait to get to Orlando.
What's up, Paolo, man? This is Devin Kennedy. I'll be your teammate here in Orlando. We're so excited to have you. First and foremost, congratulations, man. It's a big moment for you, your family. I really don't have any questions for you, man. I'm just excited for you to get here. We're excited. You got the whole organization, the city, and this fan base behind you. So
ask him about the suit.
Yeah. Okay.
I do love that suit.
Talk to us about the fashion choice.
Yeah, man, it was just kind of, I wanted to go with purple, kind of for my parents. They both went to the University of Washington, and I didn't go there, as everyone knows. So, it's just me paying my respects to them because, when I first committed to Duke, they caught me for it just from the people around the city. So, it's just me showing my respect to them.
That's love. Hey, man, I just sent you a text. We're excited. Like I said, we're excited to have you here. I'll be out in Vegas with you for Summer League. I'm looking forward to what you just said, competing and winning. That's what we're building here. That's what I've been about at every level, too, through the G League. I fought, to get to the league. I was undrafted, but, man, to be a #1 pick, man, that's got to be great for you, your family.
What did you say just a moment ago, Devin, about what the tagline on your Twitter feed is? Maybe a little advice for Paolo?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, enjoy your night tonight. I know you want to get down here and work. Enjoy your night, bro. Live in the moment. And I'll talk to you more in person. But one thing I say, and through my journey, even though you're the #1 pick, I talk about run your own race, bro. So as you enjoy your night tonight and let this sit with you, you don't have to be Shaq. You don't have to be Penny or Dwight, bro. Be Paolo Banchero. Let people know your name. I saw something on Twitter. You said you want people to say one day they want to play like you. That's you running your race. So just don't lose that, all right?
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, bro. I can't wait to start working with you, man.
Yep. No, man.
All right, last thing, Paolo, and then we'll let you go. I know you got a ton of people pulling on you, but just playing for Coach K at Duke, his final year, you played your best basketball on the biggest stage. How much fun was this year for you, Paolo?
It was a blast. Most fun, best year of basketball I've ever had. Playing for Duke, playing for Coach K. Some of those experiences are once in a lifetime experiences that you can't, experience anywhere else. Just the magnitude of the games we played in, the crowd, the booze, everything. We got a once in a lifetime experience being able to play for Coach K last year, and I'm forever grateful and always a part of the brotherhood. Always.
Well, congrats. It's a magical night. We can't wait to meet you tomorrow. Safe travels, Paolo, and congrats again.
Thank you.
Take care, brother.
All right, Paolo Banchero. And we're hearing he's going to wear number 5. So these numbers are special. Like you, number 30 for you. Why? Like how did you come on that number? And these numbers mean a lot to you guys, right?
Yeah, I was number 3 in high school and college. And I figured, at the professional level, 3 is a number everyone wants. And so I was actually number 31 in my first year in the G League. But at training camp, Brooklyn Nets, they gave me number 30. And then I looked at that number, and it meant